instructional designers like the ones that are participating in this workshop. We have more than 11,000 businesses that we are cooperating with from all over the world, more than 160 countries, and we are serving more than 20 million learners. Every quarter we are adding around 3 million of learners. So plenty of learnings through these interactions with all of you and all of the learners of our customers. So let's go to something which is, I think, a little bit cliche, and everyone will agree on that. We all now agree that AI needs, first of all, direction, and at the end, it needs also a kind of control, and it needs a kind of validation of the output. So in any case, we need both to direct AI and to check AI. That is a human job, and that definitely is an instructional design job when we are talking about building learning material. So the question that we are trying to answer with our framework is, what can an instructional design do with AI? So we can go to the next slide, and I will give you, we have several models used for this presentation. All the slides are updated the last week, so you are seeing the latest of the results in all of our examples. And this presentation that we will share with you includes tons of examples and prompts to help you build your instructional design material. So when we were thinking about how AI is changing the instructional design role, we thought that there are so many things that you can do that by luck, collecting things that I can do this and this and this, doesn't give you a framework of how to think, doesn't give you a strategy of how to familiarize with AI and how you can exploit all the opportunities. So we created this framework which consists of 5 layers. The first layer of skills that some instructional designers needs to have is that he has to use AI so as to interact with the domain knowledge. The domain knowledge of the material. So I'm teaching, for example, development. How can I interact with AI so as to produce material or understand the specific domain? The second layer has to do with the most important probably thing that the instructional designer does, which is creating learning activities. We will show you how you can create tons of learning activities, from glossaries to stories to video to sounds to songs, because the learning activities are the basic component of whichever instructional design output. Then we will show you, and this is a very important skill to have, how you can build efficient interactions with AI. Because what is the output of AI? The output of AI is being dependent on the input that we are giving. And you shouldn't let luck to define the output of AI. So we will show you a framework of how to prompt AI engines, and then we will show you how theory can be incorporated inside your instructional design process without you having to explain all this theory. How, for example, you can use ADDIE model, how you can, use Bloom objectives, and how all of that streamlines how the research is being incorporated into the output result of daily instructional design, something which was unimaginable some years ago. And the last thing that you have to know is the tools. Yes, you can do a lot of stuff with ChatGPT and the models and the dialogues and the chats. However, there are tools that are helping you, that are accelerating all of this interaction. By big margin, you have to know the tools, exploit the tools, so as to have, let's say, these full spectrum skills, so as to be the best possible instructional designer with AI. So let's go fast into the first layer. Panayota, the stage is yours.
Thanks, George. So welcome once again, everyone. It's been 3 years, more or less, with Gen AI in our lives, and you have been interacting with various LLMs in order to better understand a domain before you start designing something. So that's the first thing over here. And what we want to clarify actually in this first layer of our presentation is that okay, you have several types of questions. You might want to retrieve some information on a topic or explore a concept or investigate a rationale in order to better understand the domain you will design on. You might have an SME along you, or you might not. So in that case, AI is here to accelerate your efficiency. Why? Because you can start with a simple question like, what is the impact of AI on SEO? If you want to design like a relevant course on that topic, you get the result, several information included on this output over here. But then again, you can progressively deep dive on the topic with the help of all of these Gen AI tools. Like you can trigger search and you can get up-to-date information on the topic along with the resources. Or you might want to trigger the AI research agent and get like a very cool long report, well elaborated on various resources. And I mean, the whole output couldn't even be included in here. It's that long. You can get, for example, we see here the first part of the report. It's about how AI has affected content creation and optimization on our particular topic. We see several info included. The resources are also there, up-to-date material for you to search and validate. You can even go to Perplexity and, you know, play a bit on the resources that the AI will take. So it might just surface something from the web, or, you know, deep dive into academic results or social information and stuff like that. We have included over here the link. So when you will get the presentation, you can get a review of the entire report, which again is pretty long and elaborated. And you can also even use, you know, as a last step in your process, tools that investigate and help you deep dive into academic research. So for the very same topic, you get, for example, to use Consensus AI, filter even your research by, let's say, the publication date of the journals, or even the ranking, like you want to learn more based on more highly valued academic papers. So here you get it. With all of these tools, you get progressively a deep dive into a domain before you even start designing. So that's what AI helps you do here.
And we can say on top of that, that while 1 year ago we were saying what a great result you can bring with talking with ChatGPT, right now we are saying that with the different tool of ChatGPT, the different views that the different AI tools are offering, you need to combine and you need to use all of these tools so as to have a very spherical idea of what is being, of what you can create. So while it was just, oh, what an amazing answer about SEO ChatGPT gave us, now it's how I can combine all these multiple perspectives so as to build something which is robust and effective.
You might need like 2 weeks before AI to do this research, but now it's just like less than 10 minutes results. Yeah, moving on, in the second sub-layer of our first layer of design expertise here, we have AI helping you, you know, deep dive into a particular domain. You are an instructional designer. You might not be an SME in a particular field, but AI is. For example, here, you might want to design a course targeting developers, junior developers, and you might want to include some customized code examples. So, okay, what can I do about that? I don't know any code. ChatGPT does, or Claude does, and it produces like a very interesting artifact which you can use, or you can even, you know, go and check out DeepSeek. The idea here is that you can, you know, leverage all of these models, check which one, you know, is best for your use case. Do not just trust one. Go around, play around, and decide on the best result you can get from these models. Another domain that AI has expertise on is data analysis. You might, again, want to create a course on how to do data analysis. You might want to showcase particular examples. You ask the questions here, you get the results. For example, we asked for line plots, we got line plots, we got box plots, and so on. But there is also the case that you might not have a particular, you know, question in your mind, and you ask AI to do the data analysis for you. and it will, undertake all the relevant steps to complete this process. And we can see even here like a correlation being conducted, or we can see a word cloud at the very end to summarize maybe your students' feedback or whatever.
Can you show the difference between these two prompts, Panagiotta?
Yeah, sure. We can see here that it's like very much elaborated. This one, it has particular queries. We have added a particular data set for the AI to consider. Like we ask for a progress rate across the 6 courses quizzes. We get like the 6 quizzes and how the rates progress among our students, or we get a line plot of students' performance over time. That's over here. Or we have the overall performance in quizzes using the box plots. Here we have the box plots, and the sentiment analysis at the very end. We can see here how the sentiment among our students progresses.
So at the very end, what we are saying here in this first layer is that you can use AI in 2 ways. The one is, let's say, the explorative, the opportunistic, which you are asking AI to suggest the results, like the second prompt, or you can be very aggressive and you say, I want these specific things. So these are the two, with the combination of all the available tools, all the different modes of each tool, you can do both things in all the tools so as to build your domain expertise, your domain material, so as on top of that to start creating learning activities. And I think this is a good idea to go to Elise for the second layer and start talking about how we can build, now that we have the material, learning activities on top of this material.
Yes, thank you, George. And I feel like I have the most fun of the whole presentation. All right, so okay, the theory is great, but obviously we do need some actual artifacts, to populate the course and to create our activities. So here is the first one, the first artifact that we can create, which is flashcard questions. So what we did over here, you see that we're using ChatGPT, is that we infused it with this CSV file that we have, that it includes our students' countries. And then we ask that it creates flashcards. So the one side is going to have some characteristics of the different cuisines and countries that it identified. And then the other side, of course, we ask that it actually visualizes that. So you see, ChatGPT did exactly that. So on the one side, it came up with the different cuisines. You have Germany with key ingredients, techniques, Nigeria, Canada, and so on. And then when we ask for the visualization right after, you see that it came up with some images for that. I would say the first one is a typical American. Not sure about all of these, but the last one is definitely Germany. I can see the Wurst and the sausages over there. Now, if we switch to the next one, you will find that we did the exact same thing, only this time with Gemini. You'll see that the flashcard over here, in terms of the descriptions and all of that, it's very nice, very concise. But you'll see a great difference over here in terms of the visualization. So the images appear a lot more realistic and clear, dare I say, with Gemini. So if you didn't tell me that, this burger is not AI, I wouldn't believe you. I would have fallen like my mom does on Facebook all the time. I would have fallen for it for sure. So you see, I don't know, the burger and so on. So next up, we did the same thing in Claude. So here's our analysis on the one side. It is a little bit more concise, I would say, than the other two. It just divided it entirely, in the countries and how many students. So
And
quite a difference over here, right? But the main difference, I would say, is not that, but it is that it actually produced the artifact itself. So you'll see down here, there is a link to the actual file that it created for the flashcard. I'm not going to click it right now. I guess, Panagiotta, if you want, you can do. But, this is the main difference over here, that it really differentiates it from Gemini and ChatGPT.
And at least this is the interesting stuff, that some of these tools are already creating artifacts. So they are not creating just the questions. They are not creating only text-based results, which you have to then convert them to something more meaningful as a learning material. But they are starting creating learning objects, which can be used a lot more easier with straightforward. Yes.
We love to see it. It's ready made. You do not even need to do the copy pasting thing. You just upload it essentially, right? So
Exactly.
great for that. Right. So the first thing we saw is the flashcard. Now, if we move on to the next one, and I guess we did have a little preview of that as well. So next up, we have the images. Now, what I want you guys to focus over here is mostly the description. You'll see that we were really, really detailed in terms of what we requested for the image. So you'll see that we requested a high quality image, the exact dimensions, the scene, it should be a professional chef, even down to the color of their hair. So brown hair, wearing a white chef's coat. You see that we asked exactly what we want, for instance, in the background, what they're holding, like a knife and this and on. So I'm not going to read the whole prompt, but you get the gist. So we really, really narrowed down to all of the details, and they pushed through. So you see that ChatGPT. Indeed, we have a chef with brown hair. We have, some pans and cooking equipment in the background. They're cutting the carrots with a knife in their hand. Same with Adobe over here, Flax and Gemini. Obviously, you can see that, results vary. Some are a little better than the others. Some, I would say, are a little bit more realistic as well. But I feel like all of them made sure to include the details. And same thing over here, we used a few other tools like Reeve, Microsoft Design, Stability AI, and Ideogram. So same thing here. And I feel like they all kind of like stayed within the details that we requested.
And
So
exactly
very, very
because,
interesting to say.
sorry, Elise,
Yeah.
because I'm seeing a question in the chat. Someone asked, and which is the best, the better one? What's the best one here? There is no one answer here.
Yeah.
What we are trying to demonstrate here is that you need to be flexible and you have too many tools open and test. It's just a matter of 5 minutes. And then you will get the image. Sometimes it might be Gemini, others might be ChatGPT, others might be Microsoft Designer, but it's so easy. It's exactly the same prompt to all the engines. So why don't we create several images so as to get the best one for our needs?
Exactly, exactly. All right, let's move on to the next one. So next up, let's say that for your educational reasons, you need to create a timeline. Over here, we requested a timeline presenting the history of digital marketing. So ChatGPT pulled through over here again. So it started all the way from 1971, and it's giving us the timeline exactly of how digital marketing evolved. Now, not only it does that in text, but also later on, you can ask and request that it also visualizes that as well. And you'll see that this is great over here. And think of it with your, whatever you want to showcase, right? And your example, how much easier it would be to offer this information in the sense of a timeline, right? So how a lot easier it is for users to consume this information for your example. So this was it with ChatGPT. You see, we did the same with Gemini. So in terms of the text-based outcome, it's a great outcome. So quite similar to ChatGPT. I would say that visually it is a little bit better on Gemini. So I do like the kind of evolution that it has. It's a lot easier on the eyes and to understand how it evolved through time. So here's how the visualization would look like on the timeline in Gemini. All right, the next thing that we can create, the next artifact is a glossary. So a lot of times, you need to create a glossary for different terms and so on. So here we requested for one regarding product management. Now, ChatGPT did come up with a few, it was like, 20, 30. Then we did the same on Claude, and you'll see that the main difference that we saw over here, besides the fact that, Claude also comes up with the actual artifacts, we mentioned that earlier as well, is that Claude covered actually the whole alphabet. So it created a glossary from A to Z, and you'll see that it has multiple entries for each letter too, right? So it is very extensive and definitely a very inclusive glossary for what we requested. So the main difference over here again, not only that it's extensive, but also it's a ready-made artifact for you to use and just upload like that.
Hey, Lisa, do you see like the preview right now?
Yeah, we can see
Yes.
it.
Okay,
We can see
super.
this is the artifact that Claude produced and Panayota was kind to open up.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's move over to the next one. All right, so next up is the case study. And I feel like case studies are a pain point, at least for me always, because, you have to use your imagination, you have to see what case studies to use and so on. So I love to see that we can create that with AI. So let's see what we did here. So we requested that AI acts as a rehabilitation center and that it creates a case study about a specific spinal cord patient, that they had a spinal cord injury, essentially. The goal over here was to create the case study for a student that they will need to evaluate and understand the components. I'm not going to go through all of it, but you will see that here is exactly the details that we asked. So for instance, the case study should describe the patient's demographic, and you'll see over to the right that it does exactly that. So at the top part, you'll see the patient's overview, their name, their age, their gender, so their demographic. Right under that, we asked to describe the program and the rehabilitation and fitness structure, and it does that right under as well, under rehabilitation and fitness. And moving on, we have all the other requests to focus on the exercise and so on. So, of course, we did the same in Claude. You will see the result over here. I kind of prefer this one. So again, of course, at the beginning, you will find the demographics, the medical history, the initial assessments, and then, of course, the rehabilitation program and structure. So just like that, very easily, you can create case studies essentially for anything that you want using the same prompt and essentially any of the tools that you want. So we went on and same prompt, we use the same one in Gemini. So over here, it came up with our with a case study as well. So the patient's name here is Alex, 28 years old. We have a nice little intro of who Alex is, what the history is. Same, you have the rehabilitation and fitness program, the frequency, so the schedule, the duration, progression, and all of that. So love to see that Gemini was able to go ahead with that as well. And I feel like the last one I'm going to cover on this session, on this section, is the fill in the blank. So a very, very popular type of activity. So of course, now you can create that with AI as well. So here we are creating, we are requesting for a fill in the blank a worksheet to generate students. It's going to generate it for students who are learning English as a second language, essentially. So we are fitting it in with some idioms with a PDF file, and then we are requesting that it takes that under consideration, and then it creates 8 sentences over here, and you'll see it did just that. Each sentence will have a few options for the blank, and essentially it's going to do just that. So it's going to create the whole fill in the blank for you, having in mind the idioms that we infused it with. And over here, you will see that, of course, you can also use LearnWords to create your own fill in the blank. You do not need to go outside and use an external tool for it. Our in-house AI assistant can help you do just that. So you can create an AI fill in the blank learning activity in here. You can add in some more information regarding what it should be based on. It could be a nice little text, paragraph, another learning activity, and so on. And just like that, with a push of a button, the generate one, it's going to come up with the fill in the blank. Not only that, but it's also going to suggest potential feedback for, if you get the right answer or the wrong answer. So I love to see that. I guess we're going to show a little bit more on that later. And I feel like on the next one is back to Panayota, right?
Yeah, thanks, Elisa. George, you want to cover something before we move on?
The only thing that I would like to comment is that we have to see all these different AI tools as design moves. So if you've seen the case studies that Elisa presented, they all were a little bit different. So what's the task now? Is it to create, in this new era, is it to create one case study, or is it to create the best case study by exploring the design tool, the design space through different tools, through different prompting, and creating something that you haven't imagined in the past? So I feel that we have to see all of these tools, and right now in 3 minutes we have presented 5 different educational learning activities that can be created in a matter of minutes. With the use of different tools and opening the design space, you have so much info to combine and also to learn so as to optimize everything. So let's see more learning activities. I think now we have even more interesting things to present. Please, Panagiotis.
Yeah, that's true. So let's start with slides, which is like a very common activity that you might use in your courses. We can see over here, we asked ChatGPT to create 10 slides focusing on brand growth for a relevant course. And you can see we asked for 3 key takeaways in bullet points, and that's exactly what we got. we only see here the first 4 slides preview, but for example, the first one is the introduction to brand growth, the key takeaways like brand growth is about increasing awareness, engagement, loyalty and revenue, and so forth. We actually tried the same thing with Gemini here. What I want to highlight here is that if you trigger the canvas functionality in Gemini, you get the whole creation of the slides content in this surface over here. But what's really interesting, I found it really interesting myself, is that if you click on this create button over here, you get like several different functionalities to repurpose this content. And I just tried the infographic and I got like a really huge, visualization. And I can say that I could just, take each one of the graphs and integrate them in my presentation directly. So I found that very useful. Of course, you can use tools that, just are devoted to doing this job, create slides like Gamma over here. With simple prompting, you can get the outline of the presentation, set some specifics that you might like the title, how concise the content will be generated by the AI, and so forth. Another really, recently released tool is the agent mode from OpenAI integrated in ChatGPT. And you can actually assign a task to this agent, like creating a presentation. You can see over here the prompt that we provided, like create a presentation outlining microlearning outperforms traditional online courses. And we ask the agent to fetch some data from the internet and, go through, specific industry reports, extract some percentages to include in our presentation, and, include some real world companies examples. We also suggested how the output should be formatted, like start with too long didn't read. Of course, the report that we got was huge, so we really appreciated this short summary at the very top of the result. Some key insights, you can see over here that it did the whole work, it did the research, it offered us a short summary of key insights. At the very top, you can see the sources that it went through. And I would like just to click over here and show you the actual presentation that it created. Well, it takes a while to load. You can see at the bottom over here all the resources that it went through, and it opens up directly in a slide. So you get like the idea here. We have the contents at the beginning. I'm not going to go through the entire presentation, but actually the data, I was trying to back them up and they were really good. So let's move on to the next educational artifact, which is an assessment checklist. Okay, at some point at our courses, when we might need to self-assess, to provide a self-assessment checklist for our students. Here is an example for a course targeting beginners in yoga, and we see here the result from ChatGPT, from Claude. You see it's a bit more elaborated, more clear. It also has what we asked to clarify each one of the questions for our students to better understand how to self-assess themselves. And here you see the Gemini results. And here is like the first part of the very exciting learning activity, which is creating videos. Here we prompted ChatGPT to create a video script, break the script into scenes. You get to see here scene 1, scene 2, and so on. We asked for the narration. For example, for scene 1, ever walked into work feeling great, then suddenly, and we also asked for the visuals, but I'm going to move on to Gemini because with VO3, you can actually get the a short clip.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Ever feel like your brilliant ideas are getting lost in translation, or that a simple disagreement?
So this
Hey
is
everyone,
the first part of the first screen actually, and there is using the flow tool, you can merge together multiple 8-second scenes so that you can create an entire video. I found it was really easy for me to use.
It's quite new, Panagiotis, am I right? This is quite new.
Definitely,
and
yeah.
Definitely suggest people to test it.
Yeah. Another idea from Claude over here. Again, Claude gives more, for me at least, elaborated results, and for sure the longest ones. We also tested Jasper, which is a tool you can use for writing, and it did quite well here in VideoScript. Of course, you can use AI avatars to create a video, like you can go out and check Synthesia, for example, give your prompt what the video will be about, and you get this slide kind of type of generating the result. Here is another type of tool, like Runway, which you can actually create an entire video based on a prompt. Definitely a lot of tools out there. Another one is Colossian, again with AI avatars. Moving on to audio scripts, you can do again the same. Maybe you want to integrate a podcast as a learning activity. I'm going to go directly to Gemini and just give you a short overview. Here it created the script, and using Notebook LM.
Welcome to the deep dive.
You get
Today,
here
we're getting into something really crucial if you're in digital design.
A lot of buzz is around Notebook LM due to this, really good podcasts it generates. So definitely go and check them out. Another good tool you can use to generate audio files is 11 Labs.
Hey there, fellow 3D creatives. Welcome to today's episode where we dive into one of the most important yet...
The voices are really realistic. They have become quite expressive as the time progresses and the tool itself progressive. So you give the scenario and you can choose and play around a bit with the variables to generate the audio file. Here is like a very good song. You can, let's say you want to make some fun content for your students. For example, go to AI Music Factory.
Oh, I used to spend my nights lost in course design, annual quizzes, PowerPoints, running out of time, but now...
Okay, so you get to see the lyrics. I mean, the music is quite uplifting, and I really liked it. It made me laugh a lot when I first heard it.
So the cycle here is you're going to probably ChatGPT or another LLM tool, you're creating the song, you're going to AI Music Factory, you upload the lyrics, and then you select a couple of parameters there, the type of music, the voice that you want to hear as a singer, and then you have the song. Again, I have to say, see how many different learning activities you can create in a matter of minutes. And that's the question now, which is the vocabulary, the glossary of activities that you have to experience while creating them with AI, so as to have the full spectrum of the skills that you need to create material. That's how we are presenting these activities, as a list of things you have to have in your mind. So let's go on.
Yeah, you can test Suno as well, but you can generate the lyrics of the song within the tool. We have several tools here for sound effects. If you want to play around, again, SFX engine is creating really realistic sounds here. If you want to create like a soft, gentle rainfall feeling, you hear the droplets hitting on leaves. That's a really good and realistic sound. Again, 11 Labs, I'm not going to play all of the sounds here. Okay, another really nice to have activity for your courses are stories. Then again, you can prompt. The more you elaborate on your prompts, you can see here, like we define the setting, we define the characters of the story, and then you get exactly that in your output. Here we have Lily's balcony garden. We did the same with Jasper again, really good results as well. My favorite, and all the time I'm talking about the scenarios and how much students usually, enjoy being involved in training scenarios. So here we have, like you can see, a very elaborate prompt about creating a scenario for fire safety in bank settings. So we want to create a realistic workplace context, include, scenes, specific scenes. We have also included the decisions that our students need to consider. And you can see here the artifact that Claude created, scene 1 over here. You get the scenario, and then you get the options that you have to choose between. And what happens if I choose correctly or wrong, here like a short glimpse. And what I liked very much was when I tasted Lovable, like I had the full experience over there and in my preview, and I could, easily prompt and enhance this experience, like add some fireworks if my students, answered correctly at some point of the scenario. Other tools here like Thingling, you can decide based on some parameters, how would you like your scenario to be created. And yeah, I think I'm gonna move a bit fast over here because we are out of time. So another thing we consider essential here is that you can use AI to transform your content. So of course you have been doing some editing stuff like simplifying text or policing or rewriting or summarizing in order to transform your content, but now you can even, repurpose your content. You can transform some assets to slides. For example, over here, we've seen presentations in AI and Gamma again, or of course you can transform something to a podcast. We are bringing here Notebook LM, and I'm not going to play the sound here. I just want to highlight that they only recently, like I think a couple of days ago, they released this interactive mode. So if you are listening to the podcast, you can actually join the AI hosts and you can interact and change how the whole podcast will unfold. So that was really fun. And of course, something that came up recently again is the whole video presentation. You can upload your materials.
Hey,
and
welcome to the Explainer.
an entire video
A revolution
with
is brewing
slides
in
based
just
on a
about every
resource.
professional field.
You can
And
hear
today
also
we're
the
zeroing in on
voiceover.
a big one, instruction.
So yeah, that was also very interesting. Some
Hey,
great
welcome to the
stuff.
Explainer.
And I think another way you can transform an asset is directly into a video. Lumen 5 here is an example of how you can prompt the tool. Steve AI, again, you get like a slide type of presentation on how you develop your tools. And let's move fast and back to George about how you can prompt efficiently.
So I'm not sure how efficient we were in this presentation, presenting so many learning activities. Hopefully, we inspired you to see the slides after the presentation, and you can test all the examples. All the prompts are there, all the tools are there, so you can, in your time, you can test everything that you presented. Now, let's go to layer 3. So we are seeing that we can create all of these a learning artifact, but if you've seen, all of our prompts were quite elaborated. And why it's that? Because AI responds to what you say, but it thrives on how you say it. And this is the important stuff here, how we talk with AI. So that's why we created a framework, which is very simple, with 9 steps that will enable you to think, what do I have to specify so as to contextualize the things that I expect from AI. So let's start with this framework. The first thing that you have to define is the expertise in a role. How, as you see in this example, it says act as an expert on software development or machine learning framework, as an instructional designer or something. Always start with that because it gives good context on how AI will interpret what will follow. The second thing that you need to do when you're creating instructional material is that you need to specify your audience. It's a different thing to talk to SEOs, to CEOs. It's a different thing to talk to 5-year-old students. And that matters when AI creates the material. The third thing that you need to define is, what do you want? Do you want to create some material? Do you want to create a presentation? Do you want an overview? Do you want a challenge? Do you want a case study? So you have to define, what do you want? The fourth step that you have to follow in each prompt, this is our suggestion, is to set the learning method. And this is where theory joins practice. Because you can say, I want act as an instructional designer for 5-year-old students that want to understand nuclear physics, think about that, with Gagne approach. And AI will take care of all of these variables and will create an output that complies with all of these variables. Then enhance the context. You might have a site, you might have a PDF, you might have a presentation. Add it as a context because that will guide, will direct AI to the path that you have in your mind. Most of you have learning materials. So should you start from the beginning or should you feed your material as a context to your AI interactions so as AI to be more directed toward your thinking, your way of teaching and so on? The step 6 is similar. Let's go to the next step. Then identify the tone and the style of voice. Do you want that to be funny? Do you want to have some seriousness? Do you want to have a teaching style there? So you have to define how the output will be read, will be perceived by your audience. Then you always have to think that you can define the output format. And you've seen that Claude have so many already learning objects there. So you might say, I want flashcards. I want a presentation. I want an HTML page. I might want, so set what do you expect from the AI thing, and then you can validate your prompt. I think there were some similar discussion there in the chat about how we can reflect with AI about the results that we're seeing in the chat. So we can say, how do you evaluate this stuff? Are we happy with this thing? How can you challenge what you've done? Can you create something more innovative? So if you have this approach, and in each of your prompts, you are detailed enough to set up who you are, what do you want to do, give directions about the context, about the instructional method, then the result is going to be a lot better. And this is exactly that what you have to have in mind. You are not just using AI, you are directing AI. And that's where instructional design comes again to human. We have to direct AI for the right result. Here is an example. Simple prompt engineering, create a presentation about nutrition for the condition of diabetes. And then we have a more detailed, a more elaborated, and you see the result there. And we could even make it a lot more elaborated. So start with more elaborated prompts, try to complete all the parameters because that will make a difference. So let's go to layer 4, and I will be very fast because we don't have time here. Now it's about how we can combine instructional theory, how we can bring AI to instructional theory. And there we have 3 different pillars inside layer 4. Let's start with the first one. The first one has to do that we can use AI so as to understand your learners. Every time you are designing something, you need to understand your learners. Usually you were doing that by going to doing the interviews with people and so on. However, there are so many data out there that AI can compile that you can get immediately answers about that. So for example, which are the learning misconceptions of users? Which are the learning characteristics of CEOs? Which are the learning characteristics of 10 years old boys? So you can bring all that stuff by prompting AI to give you these answers. So here in Understand Your Learner, we have these 7 things. You can create profiles. As you can see here, we are asking to create 4 personas of UI UX designers because I'm creating a course for this type of designers. Let's go to the next one. You can ask about SEO's experiences with the domain that you are trying to teach. That in this specific example, we are trying to teach them time management. So we are asking, tell us how CEOs usually use their time so as to design based on these habits. Let's go to the next one. You can identify the misconception, and all of you, you are instructional designers, you do know when you start teaching something, you start usually from the misconceptions because you have to break them. So which are the misconceptions for maths and fractions, for example? Which are the misconceptions for time management or psychology? You can get some fast building blocks there so as to complete your preparation of your instructional design plan. Now, the second part of this layer is how you build a plan now. And let's start seeing ideas. We are talking about using theories. So see here, we are asking ChatGPT to create a syllabus based on the ADDIE learning model. And if you see on the right, you will see the ADDIE's learning model phases. So we are starting with analysis, then we design, and so on. The next model, we can do that also with Gemini, with different artifacts as the results. We don't have time to explore more of that. Then another example, use Gagné's 9 event of instructions. See on the left the 9 events of instruction of Gagné, and see on the right that the response from ChatGPT is exactly on these 9 events. How can I gain attention? How can I inform learning objectives? How can I stimulate recall of prior learning? And so on. Another output from Claude, which is similar, but if we go back to Claude, again, Claude has a difference. It creates objects, and it is closer to what we expect as a syllabus here. Okay, so we suggest you to always explore also Claude. Bloom taxonomy, you need objectives. How difficult it is to define objectives in different domains. Now you can say, I do want Bloom's taxonomy, and you can go into details. Let's go to the next one. SMART goals, probably you all know this approach. Let's go to the next one. So this was a fast track of some theories, and you can test more. And you will see, of course, if you interact and you build on top of the results and you ask more details about the application of the instructional theory, you will get also more refined results. Now, a last thing, the third layer for us, which is probably the most unexpected, the most impactful, is when you are talking about innovative ways of teaching. Because what AI brings here is that it can help you think out of the box. And for example, you can ask ChatGPT to create analogies. So here I'm trying to teach market segmentation by getting examples from cooking. You can see the result on the right. Let's go to the next one. You can ask to to explain the concept of market segmentation like a cowboy from all Westerns. So if you can see a little bit what it presents on the right, it is mind-blowing. And not forget that the biggest difficulty when you're creating a learning experience is how you can keep your learners. And usually you can keep your learners by showing them things that are unexpected. So these are techniques for doing something like that. Let's go to the next one. Lateral thinking from the bonus theory. Use lateral thinking to talk about market segmentation. You will see something totally unexpected also for you. Let's go to the next one. You can use the bonus 6 thinking hats if you know this specific theory, and you will see again innovative things. So in this specific third layer, what we are saying is that instructional designers should use AI so as to expand the horizon of how they can build the instructional plan with out-of-the-box things. So Socratic dialogue, you can create with emoji stories, conflicting concepts, and a lot more. We don't have time, so let's go also to layer 5, Elisa, and to finalize our presentation.
Right, yes. So on layer 5, and a lot of you were asking in the questions in the chat because we mentioned so many tools. So here is all the tools that we mentioned essentially categorized. So you'll see the first one, we have the AI-powered LMSs. So the first one is LearnWorlds. You will see in a little bit that we have our very own integrated AI assistant because some people were a little confused. We'll see what that can do. And then, of course, there's a few other LMSs that have AI as well. Then we have another category, the AI authoring tools. So LearnWorlds, again, can allow you to create authoring. It has authoring tools that allows you to create content with AI, and there's a few other tools as well. We have another category for research and science, Perplexity, consensus, semantic, and the list goes on. Writing and ideation, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. So a lot of you were asking what was used for what video and so on. So here you have all the lists and the categories for presentation, for image generation, and AI. So here you have all of them, and just go back to the recording if you're looking for a specific one to see what Panagiotta mentioned, because I saw a lot of questions regarding that. All right, now let's go ahead into we have a very short video for you guys so that we can show you exactly what the LearnWorlds assistant
has
can
AI,
do.
like LearnWorlds. You can name your course and write a compelling description in seconds with a course creation wizard. You can boost your visibility on Google instantly with the AI-powered course SEO. You can turn your idea into a full curriculum using the course outline generator. You can design engaging forms to gather information effortlessly with AI-assisted forms. You can generate creative, polished ebooks from scratch in minutes with our ebook designer. You can transform any video into an interactive experience with captions, transcripts, quizzes, and chapters automatically. You can build assessments that challenge and inspire, complete with instant feedback, and even an AI dialogue for learners. You can elevate every page with sharper, richer copy at the click of a button. You can write high-converting emails in moments with ready-made templates. You can spark conversations in your community with AI-generated posts and comment ideas. With LearnWorlds AI, you save time, create faster, and inspire.
So, Elise, what we are saying here is LearnWorlds is just an example that all of the things that we presented you today, they have started coming into complete learning platforms. So you don't need to create something in ChatGPT or Claude and then move it somewhere else. There are platforms that incorporate everything and you can deliver, because the deliverability of this material is also a big problem. You're creating a questionnaire, you're getting the questionnaire. How are you going to send it to your learners? You're creating an ebook. How are you going to present that to the learners? So more and more tools like LearnWorlds are bringing all this functionality all together inside the platform so as for you to have to do less things. I think that concludes also our
What can you do with
presentation.
a tool that has
Thanks a lot for being here in this very first session. We are a little bit late and we are very sorry about that, Theodosi. I think, Elisa, now we can do a 5-minute break.
Yes, yes, let's go ahead and do a short 5-minute break so that you guys can have a little bit of time. And then we will resume with Theodosi's session. Let me go ahead. All right, so we are back. Let's hope that you guys had some time to maybe refill your drink or, just get a little break. So I think we're good to go on with our next session. So let's again welcome Theodosi Karagiorgaki. Theodosi, if you're here with us.
Yeah, I am. Hello,
So
everybody.
again, Theodosis is a senior learning designer and developer over at Cardet 360, and he's going to talk about the AI tools that he used. So tell us more, Theodosi.
Okay, let me share my screen first, please. I suppose you can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, cool. Let me fix this. So, extremely interesting presentation, Panayota, Elisa. Is it Elisa? Yeah, Elisa
Yeah.
and George. The chat actually was on fire, and hopefully all these lovely people will like my session as much as they liked yours. You showed us several AI tools and approaches, but now please allow me to be a bit more specific. I'm talking about the specific AI tools that changed how I approach learning design. Actually, not all of them because we'll run out of time, but I'll try my best to show you as much as I can. So let's see. Okay. Before we begin, let me share some statistics with you. The good news, according to the World Economic Forum, is that 16.9 million jobs will be created by 2027 because of the AI. The bad news, well, 83 million jobs will be lost. Besides, more than 60% of the total workforce will be immediately impacted by AI. And that's exactly why we are all here today. We need to accept the truth. Our jobs as learning designers are being affected by the AI. It's in our hands whether that impact is positive or negative. And now that I got your attention, let me tell you who I am. I'm Theodosis Karagiorgakis, Senior Learning Designer and Developer at Cardet 360. I've been building training programs since 2017 for both the academic and corporate markets. And the last 3 years, I have become obsessed about the AI and the possibilities it offers for scaling up my work, my productivity. I have experimented, as a matter of fact, I have experimented with over 300 AI tools so far, which I also showcase on my YouTube channel, hence the QR code you see on your screen. So today, in this short training session, I'll share some of the best AI tools I've discovered, and hopefully by the end of it, you will leave with some new things to try. But let me tell you a little secret first. I was a mediocre learning designer. After all, I started as an e-learning developer, not an instructional designer. In the past, I had to Google a lot and spent countless hours on various tasks, from simple ones, such as crafting training objectives and polishing my content. English is not my main language, as you have probably realized, to advanced ones, like creating realistic training scenarios. Thankfully, these days, with the emergence of all those AI tools, I've become much better, or so that's what I believe. This is because tasks like needs analysis, content writing, idea generation, and more are now being assisted, or in some cases, streamlined by AI. We are now living in the era of AI-powered learning design. Therefore, today I'll demonstrate 2 or maybe 3, possibly 3 AI tools, and conclude with what AI tools and conclude with what everyone is talking about these days, the AI agents, and how I use them to streamline a sequence of learning design tasks. Let's start with the first AI tool, which is none other than Perplexity. If you don't know Perplexity, Perplexity is an AI-powered search engine with chatbot capabilities. Unlike ChatGPT that hallucinates, Perplexity provides accurate and reliable answers. I think Panayota already mentioned Perplexity, because it pulls real-time data from the web. So it's great for deep research, and its answers include references to the sources used, which gives you the ability to verify all those answers. That's why it's one of my favorite tools for research. Whether I'm conducting a needs analysis or simply validating the data that the subject matter experts have given me, because the subject matters that I work with are using ChatGPT a lot. And as we said, ChatGPT hallucinates, so they tend to give me material that are not accurate. So I need to verify if everything is real or, made up. But you probably already know Perplexity. So instead, I'll show you something different, something that most people ignore. Perplexity spaces. Can somebody tell me if you can see my screen?
Yes.
I'm showing Perplexity, not the slides.
Yes, we can see your
Okay.
Perplexity.
Cool, thanks. So this is Perplexity's interface. To access spaces, I'm not gonna go through all these options. You already know about Perplexity. To access spaces, you need to click this button on the left side. But what's a space? Let me click to the spaces first. What's a space? So a space is like a dedicated area that can be used for organizing the conversations for specific projects or topics, and it also follows some specific custom instructions if you want to. And these instructions apply only to this space. So let's try one of my spaces, and we're actually going to do this one. The assistant, I have given it a name, which is audience analyst. And I have named it as an audience analyst because I use it to conduct audience analysis. And I do that because many times the subject matter experts do not have enough relevant information about the audience. These clients work far from me, so it's pretty hard, to do a proper audience analysis. In order to create a training that solves problems, I use Perplexity to help me identify these audiences' pain points, problems, and challenges. As I mentioned earlier, each page lets you input a specific set of instructions. So if I click here, you'll see that I have applied a specific set of instructions which guide the AI what I want it to do. Every time I create a conversation in this space, the AI takes into account all these instructions. My instructions start by giving the AI a role, as well as some context of what I want it to create. I'm telling it that I want to support my statements with its statements with real-life examples, etc., and I want to generate a detailed audience analysis about the potential audience. But I have not stopped there. I'm being super specific, so I'm telling it to include information such as demographics, pain points, barriers to learning, motivations, and finally, there is a second layer, if you like George mentioned a lot about layers, a second layer, which ultimately asks the AI to provide actionable suggestions based on the audience needs and pain points, which is pretty cool. You'll see why. Of course, I can also add files in case the client has provided me with specific files, but I'm not doing that in this particular assistant because it's a more generic one. So before doing the analysis, actually, let me type the prompt first. Let me type the prompt. I've got a template here, which I always use it to conduct the needs analysis. And I'll give I'll make up an audience. So I'm creating a training, a self-paced training. Here, whatever is in brackets, I change whatever is in brackets. So I'm telling the AI that I want to create a self-paced training solution for, let's try an imaginary audience. I don't know, maybe let's have for
nurses?
Business officers. Nurses,
Yeah.
okay, nurses is fine. For nurses.
Just an example.
Okay, the purpose of the training is to help them do what? Maybe I don't know, utilize AI tools. And then I asked the AI to do a detailed audience analysis, but I'm not done yet because I need to select some options over here. So first things first. First, you see some buttons on the left. Before doing a needs analysis, I enable this button over here. It's the deep research button, which works like this. It reads hundreds of sources and synthesizes them into comprehensive reports. Free users like me, I'm not paying for Perplexity, I'm using the free plan. Free users like me are limited to 3 deep researches per day, but that's enough for most learning designers wanting to do an audience analysis. Then, on the right side, you'll see the sources button. We won't dive deeper into those 2 other options because we will run out of time. But we're gonna check this one out. In this button, you can specify where the AI should look for answers. You can ask it to search across the internet, blogs, articles, YouTube videos, etc., academic papers, or my favorite one, online fora, such as Reddit, which is super cool when conducting needs analysis because it allows the AI to draw conclusions from actual conversations of people. Additionally, this button allows us to specify how recent the sources should be. You can ask for something really recent or just leave it as it is. Finally, as I said, if the client of this imaginary audience has provided with some documentation, you can also attach files to it, which will also be included in the deep research. When I'm done, I'll hit this button over here, and it will take approximately 3 minutes to gather all those resources, synthesize all this information, and then provide me with the answer. As you see, the process is slow as it includes multiple steps. It's not just a single question and then we get the answer. Generally, it's way more thorough compared to ChatGPT, so you need to be patient for it to finish. And I'll share the prompt and the instructions I used later on. Let me give you the link. I have already created this. Actually, I will give it later on. I'll give it later on because we're going to see another prompt as well. But I'll share everything. I see that people are asking me in the chat about it. It will take a minute and it will be ready. See how many
Theodosia, because someone asked in this session, so essentially the claim here is that it is great for research because it doesn't produce hallucinations, because someone specifically asked in the previous session.
I always use Perplexity to validate data that the client subject matter expert has given me, and also to come up with reliable content. It's not the best for generating content. Don't get me wrong. There is another AI chatbot that I use for content generation, but when it comes to researching stuff quickly and validating claims fast, I use Perplexity. Anyway, it's not over yet, as you see. It's pretty lengthy. Let me walk you through. So so far it has evaluated 113 sources. We can always click on those and dive deeper into each of those links. And let's go back and let's see the output essentially. See how long and comprehensive it is. We've got the audience demographics. It includes facts, statistics. As I said, I can always jump to any of these and see more if I want to. More about their setting, their geographical distribution, which is super important in some cases, their work schedules, their pain points, which is, the cornerstone that I use whenever I create training content. It tells about administrative burdens, technology adoption barriers, lack of standardized training, etc. They've got some knowledge gaps in AI understanding. I'm not going to read everything because it's going to take a lot of time. But as you see, everything that we asked for is there. See, the barriers to learning are there. Yeah, etc., etc. Let's go to the end and see if the AI produced, the motivations too, if the AI produced suggestions for what content we need to include in order to address their pain points and challenges. Let's go. It takes a lot. It's actually a full report. It's not a short answer that ChatGPT would have generated. So you understand why I use it. Engagement. I must have missed it. Yeah, there it is. Training, design, and delivery recommendations. I asked for a self-paced training. I could have asked for an instructor-led. So the AI specified its output by giving me suggestions for self-paced learning content. Yeah, there you have it. Obviously, I can continue the conversation. I can ask for refinements. And by the way, here's a pro tip. You should never be happy with the AI's response as it is. You should always ask for refinements. So I can ask anything I like. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But it's not over yet. There is also another pretty cool thing that you can do with Perplexity and Perplexity Spaces. Let's say that you've got more people in your team. You've got, 2 junior instructional designers and you are leading them. So what you can actually do is this. You can go back and you can either share the whole space or an individual conversation. So the other members can easily jump in and utilize the trained space, the specific space with its custom instructions. To do so, you just click this plus icon on top, you type the person's email, and then you send them an invitation link. When you need to share a specific conversation, okay, now they have access to the space, but they don't have access to every single thread. To enable access to all threads, to a specific thread, you need to click the 3 dots here, and then share thread with space. Click this option, and yeah, this thread is now shared, as you saw. We've got some shared ones and some which aren't shared. This one is not shared. So yeah, there are my shared threads. Pretty cool. And I also use spaces, not just for research, but I also use spaces for the specific projects that I work on. So for instance, let's click on this. I've got this space, which follows some custom instructions already. I have also uploaded a file that I want to be included, to be considered by the AI whenever it answers one of my questions. And yeah, my threads are here. I have, various conversations happening in each space. That was Perplexity. I believe it's a pretty useful tool. It's freemium. You've got 3 pro searches and researches per day, so you should try it. Let's move on to the next AI tool. Let me go back to my presentation. Hopefully, there it is. Okay, now, realistic scenarios. This is a slide that I added today. I almost forgot about it, but it's one of my favorite ways of utilizing AI tools. We all know that creating training scenarios is tough. So for this purpose, I have created these 2 prompts, as you see, to help me. Again, I'll share the prompts with you. Fear not, I'll do it later on. There is no need to, print screen, try and copy something, whatever. These prompts can be used in any chatbot you like. For this task, I'll use one of my favorite chatbots. Actually, it's not a chatbot. It's an all-in-one platform called Abacus. It's a paid tool, so I'm not recommending you to use it. I got it for free because of my YouTube channel, but I'm using it because it lets me select whatever AI model I like. And this is super important because, as many people have already stated in the comments, some chatbots excel at specific tasks, whereas others are better at some other tasks. So for content generation, I prefer Claude Sonnet 4 or Gemini 2.5 Pro. In any case, if you wish to see more about Abacus, it also lets you, do lip sync, video generation, image generation, video analysis, etc., etc. But this is not what today's training session is about. If you want to see more, go ahead and check the review on my YouTube channel. So let me paste these prompts on on the chat and see how it goes, and see how. Okay, let me close this. Let me copy and paste the first template and walk you through it. So first, oops, I'm telling the AI to, let's switch to Claude first, to act like an instructional designer. I'm giving it a role and some context. I'm telling it to use Kathy's Moore Map-It approach. Next, there are some brackets. As I said earlier, you should swap whatever is in brackets with your own details. And an expert up in this specific field. This can be, I don't know, sustainable practices in AI in education, in whatever. Then I'm telling it more information about my audience. George already and Panayota already highlighted this. Telling more about your audience is essential. Then I'm telling the AI that I want a scenario for them. And what's super important is to declare what's the specific training objective that this scenario tries to serve. So I'm typing this here. Then I've got 5 tasks for the AI. First, to build a mini scenario, which is like this. Then I want a dialogue between an NPC, a non-playing character. If you are a gamer geek like me, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the learner discussing something happening right now. Then I'm telling the AI that the scenario should end with a statement, and I'm telling the AI to give the imaginary NPC character a name, or you can input the name yourself if you have a specific name in mind, seeking advice. Then I'm giving some extra information that I want the dialogue to be informal, I want it to be this length, etc. And then I'm telling it to give 3 choices to the learner to pick from. It's essentially a multiple choice question. So what I'm gonna do is actually swap whatever is in brackets with some, with an imaginary situation. So let's say I said sustainability before, so an expert in sustainability, sustainable practices. Sustainable practices, okay. My learners are, farmers. I'm doing something with farmers, so let's do farmers. I want you to help me create a scenario for them. The scenario's learning objective is, let's type an objective, utilize sustainable irrigation practices. That's it. Let's call our NPC George. Call George. I'm not going to give it a role. I'll have the AI assign a role to George. And the learner who's an expert in, I'm not going to give a role to the learner as well. I'll just name the NPC George, and I'll name my NPC here as well. And let's see what we will get. I'll click this button. I'll hold my horses. Claude Sonnet takes some time to produce its output. But we've got the setting over here. It says Sarah Martinez, a veteran agricultural consultant, etc., with 15 years of experience, is visiting this farm. And it is followed by, the setting is followed by a dialogue between George and the learner who is assuming the role of Sarah. Then the learner is asked to reply to George's problem. and then the learner is given 3 questions to pick from. The idea here is for the questions to be hard enough for the trainee, for the learner to answer. So it's not over yet. Now I'm going to paste the second prompt, which essentially asks from the AI to generate the feedback to the question. So I'll paste it. There are no brackets here, so there is no need to change anything. And I'm asking for feedback. The feedback should contain imaginary consequences of what would have happened in real life if George had followed our advice using third person singular and past simple, etc., etc. Then for each feedback, we want the AI to explain why this happened, to give some theory of why this consequence happened, essentially. I'll hit here again, and there it is, as we requested. It gives us the immediate consequence that George implemented our suggestion. This is what happened, and this is why it happened. And of course, we also got the incorrect answers as well. I think it's a pretty useful method for creating training scenarios, because it allows you to, save up time coming up with with ideas of what you need to create. At least for me, because I'm creating a lot of training scenarios for various clients. And yeah, of course, there are times that you need to go and personalize a bit more the training scenario, because you'll have more information related to the pain points or challenges of the target audience. But there are times that you only got the training objective, the audience profile, and the audience might be, the information you got about the audience might not be as sufficient as we would have loved them to be. But in any case, I think that's the result is pretty nice. Of course, if we had more information about our farmers, we could have, added them within the prompt and get an even better and more personalized output. Again, you will be given, I'll give you this prompt for free to try it, to experiment with it. And remember, you should always ask the AI for refinements. This was our second AI tool. This was Abacus for creating training scenarios. But essentially, you could have achieved the same result just by using Claude, going directly on Claude and typing this prompt. Same goes with Gemini, ChatGPT, etc., etc. Let me switch back to my presentation. All right, here we got the third AI tool for this presentation, Napkin. I believe some of you might have already used it, heard about it. Napkin is my favorite AI tool for generating explanatory visuals. Napkin is super simple to use, takes no time to master, and it works well with all authoring tools and training platforms like LearnWorlds. Napkin is a freemium tool and can generate graphical representations based on your text, which is super impressive. I use it to help me describe processes, steps, strategies, etc. Here is how it works. Let me go back to the other browser. Here we got Napkin. So first you need to obviously sign up. I have already signed up and I'm using the free version once more. I have a blank page essentially in front of me. This is Napkin's interface. It's pretty straightforward. What you need to do is just import your document by clicking New Napkin, import your document, or start with a blank napkin. I always prefer the latter. Now, as a rule of thumb, whenever I have bullet points in my training content, I paste them into Napkin, and Napkin turns them into visuals. Let me show you. I've got an example already. Okay, we are creating a training about growing a growth mindset. That's the name of the training. And we are talking about this thing over here, neuroplasticity. Plasticity, sorry. So here is how Napkin works. You select the text that you would like to be turned into visuals and into a visual, and then click this little blue button over here. After a few seconds, the visual is created. There it is. As you see, there are 3 bullet points over here. So Napkin has started giving me suggestions of how this visual should look like. The options are endless. See? Let me go a bit downwards. Let me zoom a bit as well. There it is. Okay. It uses all the details found within the text and creates the visuals, and even adapts this information based on the information fed. See? The options are several, actually. So it will take much time for me to go through all these slides, but I believe you already understand how its potential, essentially. Let's try the first one. In most cases, the first 5, 6 options are the most accurate, but there are cases that I have found cool visuals by just scrolling down. Okay, when you find something that you like, you click on the visual, and then you can select the specific, before we check the layouts, now we can define the style even more. Some tiny details, some tiny differences can be spotted, but yeah, all those visuals are different from each other. Let's try the first one. Now, we've got our visual. We can further customize it now. We can always, delete something or type something new. For example, let's say that we would like this to be set achievable goals, although it's setting a single goal. But anyway, then we can also change the colors. Change the colors. For instance, we might want this to be blue. Or you can also change how the visuals look like from this button here. You can also swap the color of the icons as well. Of course, if you opt for a pro plan, you can give specific colors to these visuals as well. But this obviously requires you to pay some money, but it's a great tool. If you have the extra money, go ahead and give it a shot. Obviously, there are more things that you can try, such as changing the aspect ratio, changing the background colors, etc., etc. I can now export this visual, this image, either as a PNG, SVG, or even a PowerPoint file. I can export it with background on or background off. The options are actually endless. So what I do is I export it as a PNG file in most cases, or SVG file, and then I give this visual to the graphic design team, and the graphic design team, redesigns it essentially based on the project's brand identity. But imagine how much time this saves me from explaining what visuals I would like to accompany my training materials. Because I'm not into decorative graphics, I would like my graphics to actually assist learners into, comprehending all this information that they are seeing or the skills that I'm trying to teach them. This doesn't mean that you can't export it as it is and give it to the learners, to show it to the learners as well. It's up to you how you would like to use it. Now, okay, we've got some time. The free version gives you 500 AI credits per week, and roughly 1 credit is charged per word selected for generation. So if this, for example, is, I don't know, 50 words, this means that I have spent 50 credits, something like that. This was Napkin, an exceptional AI tool as well. Let me switch back to the presentation and jump to the final part, which is AI agents. In this part, I'll explain what AI agents are. I'll demonstrate how I use them to complete specific to complete specific tasks related to instructional design, as well as provide some tips on how you can utilize them if you are into this new trend. AI agents are systems configured with specific prompts designed to perform certain tasks or functions autonomously. They are not limited to a single conversation like with the rest of the chatbots, but they can execute a series of actions to accomplish multiple objectives with no input from the user. Now, let me share this picture with you. For obvious reasons, I cannot show you exactly what I'm doing with AI agents, but let me zoom a bit. There it is. Each AI agent is assigned a distinct role, a purpose, a backstory and description, and an expected output. Let me show you some more things about AI agents. As I said, they are given a description and they are given an expected output. How have we accomplished this? If you are familiar with Visual Studio, this is Visual Studio's interface where all the magic happens. The senior web developer of our organization, Bokis Angelov, set everything up using Visual Studio, and I configured it. I essentially prompted these agents using text commands like I do with regular chatbots. But I understand that this might seem a little bit overwhelming if you are not into, this kind of stuff and you don't have a web developer by your side to assist you. Thankfully, there are dedicated tools that can do this kind of work for you. Tools that have actually tools that are paid ones and offer a user-friendly interface for this type of work. One of those tools is N8N. Let me type it over here. N8N.io. But there are more applications like this. I'm not using it, obviously, but if you wish to try it, this is the place to go. Essentially, everything happens in a single place without, having to jump from one LLM to another, from one conversation to another. Agents, the third point that I would like to mention about agents is that agents self-learn and evolve. Based on your input, the agent will learn what would you like it to do. For instance, for example, if the agent responds in third person singular, you can ask it to be more personalized and reply in second person singular. The agent will remember this choice and from this point onwards will follow your command. Next, the next thing that I would like you to know is that agents collaborate with other AI agents, and they work in something that we call a crew. A crew follows a sequence of activities and doesn't stop until they reach the target. The target could be, let's go to the next slide. The target could be to develop a whole training program. So my crew, the crew that you see on your screen, doesn't stop until they come up with the raw material, essentially. Until they do that, they continue working. It includes several AI agents, several specialized AI agents, and they utilize 3 different LLM APIs to complete their tasks. This means that each of these agents operates using a different LLM. Let me check again there it is. The screenshot that I took earlier on. As you see, this one uses, I believe this one is Claude, whereas this LLM is ChatGPT-4. So each agent uses its own LLM. Some use Perplexity's API for analysis, some others use Anthropic's Claude for content generation, whereas others, okay, we've got time, use ChatGPT 4.1, to review, to validate the output. Essentially, I have programmed each agent individually. I'll tell you what I have done to give you some inspiration of how you can also apply this to your own settings. First, we've got the data analyst. The data analyst uses Perplexity to do a detailed audience analysis, like we saw earlier with Perplexity. But this time, we don't have to jump into Perplexity. Everything happens within Visual Studio. Next, we've got ID Agent 1. ID Agent 1 uses ChatGPT to do what? To read the report the first agent, the data analyst, created, and then provides recommended approaches based on audiences, common pain points, and challenges. Next, we've got ID Agent, which reads the report from the first agent and comes up with the objectives, using Bloom's taxonomy, Meyer's ABCD format, etc., etc. ID Agent 3 uses the previous report to generate the training's outline based on the structure I have prompted that I want. Next, we've got the storyteller. The storyteller takes into account some of the previous reports and uses Claude to generate realistic stories and dialogues for the training scenarios. Based, the training objectives and target audiences, pain points and misconceptions, like what you saw earlier with that we did in Abacus. So there is no need to jump from one LLM to the other. Everything is happening within one place. It's happening in one place. Then we've got another agent named Kathy Moore, named Kathy to honor Kathy Moore, which writes the feedback to the training scenarios. Then we've got the content writer whose expected output is to generate the content for each module based on the approach I have selected. I prefer using the transformative learning theory of Mesiro. In any case, then we've got the content reviewer, because I told you, we always need to review AI's output, for hallucinations and stuff. So it does this task for me. Next, we've got the assessment creator that builds the assessment questions after analyzing the training content that the previous agents have created. And finally, we've got the marketeer. The marketeer's expected output is to assist in several marketing-related tasks, like, promoting the courses, the training courses on social media, writing catchy descriptions for the training, and more. Okay, I have shown you how I utilize the agents in Learn and Design. Now let me give you some tips. Obviously, you can adapt this approach that you saw earlier based on your own needs and requirements. But here are some general tips, some general guidelines for implementing AI agents that work across many different sections, many different scenarios. The first thing that you absolutely must do before assigning individual responsibilities to each agent is identify what you want the ultimate outcome of the AI crew to be. In my case, the final outcome was, to produce the complete training content just before the storyboarding phase. So first, you need to define the final output that you want the AI agents to do. Let's move on to the next tip. Once you have established this end goal, you should begin decomposing this large task into smaller ones. Each component will then be delegated to a specific agent, and that's what I'm doing. If you recall the previous situation of how I'm using them. When the possibilities are properly distributed across the various agents, you need to configure them by providing each agent a distinct role, objective, and backstory, as well as its description, which essentially is the prompt. Prompt it. Tell it what you want, what role you want it to assume, what things you wish to see from this agent. All those things should be inputted to the agent at this point. And finally, as I have already told you a couple of times today, you need to iterate until you achieve an output that it's accurate, serves your target audience, and meets your quality standards. I have used my crew. It sounds like I'm a rapper. I have used my crew 3 times so far. In every single situation, I had to, jump in and made minor corrections, and I had also, came up with additional things that I wanted the AI agents to produce at the end. So I spent a considerable amount of time, to fix some things here and there. But essentially, the final output was pretty solid. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good, and it left me pretty happy that I could focus on more important tasks and, input my personal touch only whenever it was needed. And yeah, that was all. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them. On your screen, you can see a link with all my social media. I'm active on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. So yeah, feel free to reach out and connect. Let me go back to the chat. I'll stop the presentation for somehow.
Thank you, Theo. And what a great session, actually.
Thanks. Cheers.
It definitely opened my eyes to tools I haven't used before. So we shared your LinkedIn, your YouTube as well in the chat so that the people can have it easily over there. There were quite a few questions directed your ways, but I guess time is, of an essence here. Go ahead.
I'll provide the resource I told people earlier. Let me do it right now. In this website, I'm using Gumroad, but essentially you don't have to pay anything. It's just input 0 money. You'll find the prompts, the custom instructions I use with Perplexity, and the prompt I use for creating training scenarios. If you have any questions.
All right, I think we're good there are a few questions. I don't know if you want to take one or two, because we are a little bit tight on time.
Okay, we are out of time, actually. So sorry for that.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I was 5 minutes late, but Yeah, feel free to find me on social media. I would happy to, to connect and answer any of your questions.
All right, I'm sharing that again. All right, so thank you a lot, Theodosi. So feel free to guys connect with him, subscribe to his YouTube channel. We shared the links, and we will be sharing the recording and the slides as well. So thanks a lot, Theodosi. Now, before we go into our 5-minute break, let me actually go in here and kind of remind you that Learnwells is hosting this summit. We're a all-in-one LMS platform that does also utilize AI. And if you go over to our main page, you will see that we also have a current offer going on. So I'm going to share that on the chat as well. And then I guess we could go into a short break. I'm sharing the link to our page. And yeah, let's go to a short break, and then we will move on with the session from Marina. So thanks, Theodosi, and I guess see you later in the round table. All right, so we are back. Let's stop with the break over there. So hello, everyone. And again, welcome to the next session. So on this session, we're going to be introducing Marina Zwarsky. Marina, if you are with us, so Marina is designing faster with AI and more specifically, designing engaging courses. So Marina, if you are here, and if you can hear me, hello and welcome once again.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes, great to have you. So whenever you're ready, take it away with your presentation.
Okay.
I was just saying, yeah, there you go. Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. So hello, everyone. So today's presentation will be about designing faster with AI. And basically, I will talk about how to create engaging course materials that actually work. First, let me tell you just a little bit about myself. I've been an instructional designer for over 15 years across corporate, government, and higher education. I'm also the founder of Your E-Learning World, and I'm the author of Instructional Design for E-Learning and E-Learning Design on a Shoestring. Also, I'm an EDD student at Johns Hopkins University, and I focus on AI in course design and marketing. I've received multiple awards, including Gold Markham Award and the Top 100 Leaders in Education Award from GFEL. And I'm passionate about combining traditional instructional design with modern marketing principles and AI tools. So as of right now, I work a lot with clients, private clients, and I help them design their own courses that they can sell. And I also work with companies and big agencies to help them actually use AI to quickly design courses so that they wouldn't have to spend a lot of money and time and resources on designing their own graphics and their own videos and things like that. And today I will show you some examples of what I do as well. So this session is definitely for you if you sit down to create a course and then you wonder how to even start, and or if you finish a course and then you realize it's more like a slide deck of information and just redundant information content, and you just don't know how to make this experience interactive. So I use AI a lot to make my courses interactive, but at the same time, I want to really leverage the shoestring side of things so that I don't spend a lot of money and resources creating them. And then also, if you've heard about AI, but you don't really know how to apply it to your own content, then you'll definitely benefit from this session. So as I was working with my clients, I created this 8-step framework where I basically walk you through content creation and course creation using AI. Also, I will share some examples of AI tools that I use and some of the prompts that you can apply immediately to your next course. So did you know that it usually takes between 50 and 100 hours to actually create just 1 hour of quality e-learning content? It's a lot. So if you're not using AI, then it takes a lot of time, and sometimes you really need to use a lot of experts so that the course will really come together nicely. And subject matter experts often include a lot of content, a lot of information, and making learners, and that actually makes learners feel very tired and disengaged. And we can actually prevent that with AI. Also, many courses rely on static slides with little opportunity for learners to think, reflect, and practice. And that's where AI really can help a lot, because AI can really do a great job creating interactivity for you, both designing and developing. And then also time constraints. So course design requires structuring information, creating activities, designing visuals, and ensuring alignment with objectives. So as an instructional designer, I find that a lot of people rely solely on AI, and they really like to use it to create their courses from start to finish. I don't personally do that. I only rely on AI for certain things, and I really like to think of myself as a learning designer, not as someone who uses AI to generate content and then just build the course with that content using AI again. So I really use modern instructional design principles to ensure that then AI provides accurate content, and AI actually helps me to speed things up, but I don't really necessarily use it as the only tool to rely on, especially when it comes to content creation, not the development. So as I said, my solution is combining solid instructional design with AI, and that can really change the dynamic of course creation completely. So to overcome common course challenges like time constraints, content overload, and low engagement, I developed my 8-step framework that integrates AI to accelerate and enhance the process. So I built effective and engaging and scalable learning experiences while letting AI handle the repetitive and time-consuming parts. So this is the best way to explain it. I usually use AI to handle repetitive and time-consuming parts, while I bring my instructional design and strategy and modern learning design principles, and then AI brings basically speed and support. And then as I use AI, I like to use several different tools, and as we go through the session, I'll show you the tools that I like to use. But I like to use different tools even to generate the same content, because I never like to accept the same, just that one first version that AI produces. I don't necessarily believe that it's always accurate, and I think that sometimes different AI tools do better jobs. So I always like to compare. And I will talk about that a little bit later as well. So the creative framework stands for create learning outcomes, research and outline your course, enhance with interactive materials, assemble and produce media, tailor visual design, integrate assessments, verify implementation, and evaluate and evolve. And I'll talk about each one separately. So the first one is creating learning outcomes. You always want to start with clear learning outcomes. So we know that objectives are very important, but what should learners be able to do as a result of completing the course? So this step's actually it defines your entire course. It's basically the key of your design. So that's very, very important. So you want to create it. You can definitely use tools like ChatGPT. I also use Claude, and I use Gemini, but I use all three so that I can then pick the best ones. So here is a prompt that I really like to use. So basically, I tell the AI tool its role. So I say you're a professional instructional designer, generate 3 measurable learning outcomes for a beginner course on conflict resolution. And of course, you'll replace it with whoever your target audience is and whatever the topic is. So instead of conflict resolution, you'll put whatever your topic is. But this prompt will give you learning outcomes that you need. And you want to refine the AI output with your expertise. So never take whatever the AI gives you. What I often do is I take the content that my client supplies, or sometimes if I don't have the content, so I first get the content from the client, whatever materials they have. I do the preliminary session where I find out what is it that they want the course to be about, what's their goals, and things like that. And then I input all of that, including any documents that they may have, so that the tool actually understands a little bit better what I'm looking for. I also create in ChatGPT, I create a separate project for each of my clients, and then I put all the content and information under that specific folder. So it's important to ensure that outcomes are specific, observable, and relevant. So when ChatGPT or another tool produces objectives, I always look at it from the instructional design perspective, and I make sure that the objectives are specific, observable, and relevant, that they're smart. And remembering that your objectives, they're basically form the foundation for your assessments, for your materials, for activities, for everything. So I really spend a lot of time there finalizing and refining my objectives. The next one is researching and outlining the course. So once you create your outcomes, once you create your objectives and you think that they're clear and you're happy with them, the next step is to organize your content into a logical structure. So AI tools can help you generate module titles and lesson descriptions based on your learning outcomes. So what I do at this point, if I need to conduct additional research, I do that with ChatGPT a lot, but and also Claude. But what I found is that I can't rely. That's actually one thing that I really can't rely on when it comes to AI is the research part. I find that it's a bit the tools often make mistakes, and I always need to double check. So whenever I do my research, I always go back and I double check to make sure that research is accurate. Also, Perplexity is another tool that I like to use for research. But again, I always double check the resources, the sources that they provide. I click all the links. I make sure that it's accurate, that it didn't make things up, because it really likes to make things up. But what I also like to do at that point is outlining the course. And I really spent some time on outlining the course, or creating my outlines and finalizing them. So I never use one specific tool for that. I like to use ChatGPT, but then I also use Notion AI, and I use some other tools like Gemini. I use Claude. So I produce several outlines, and then I print them and I compare them side by side. And then I use my instructional design skills to create one outline that makes the most sense to me. And then once I create that outline, I upload it again into an AI tool, and I ask for their confirmation, what it thinks about it. So again, as I mentioned at the very beginning, I do use AI to create my objectives, to create my outlines, just to speed things up, to help me organize things. But I look at everything from the critical perspective as an instructional designer. So again, whatever you use, whatever AI generates, it's your base, but then you want to apply your instructional judgment and scaffold and sequence and adjust the content as needed. And then the next one is E, that's enhancing with interactive materials. This one is very important to me as an instructional designer, because AI can really help you a lot to generate scenario-based questions, discussion prompts, reflection tasks, or even branching dialogues to transform content into experience. So one example prompt that I like to use here is, imagine you're an instructional designer, write a short case study and 3 discussion questions for a lesson on ethical decision-making. So AI can generate scenario-based questions. It can generate reflection tasks, discussion prompts, branching dialogues. So it can help learners make decisions, collaborate, make personal connections. And most importantly, it can create activities that will help with real world application. But even though it can do that, it takes an instructional designer who can actually review the content and say, yes, this is where I want a scenario, or this is where I want a case study, or this is where I want them to collaborate or do a discussion. So it's still very important to use your skills as an instructional designer to decide whether you like the activities. What I do sometimes is if I'm not really sure which activity would work best, I ask to generate several different types of activities. So I ask whether it can generate scenarios of, and I always say like generate 5 different scenarios. So I usually don't want just one particular one because I like to combine them. Also, what I sometimes I tell them, do a branching dialogue and a scenario, and then I see whatever fits best so that the course actually makes sense. So again, AI can really help me here because I don't have to really think about the scenarios, but at the same time, I really need to look at it from the instructional design perspective. So to me, interactivity and interactive materials is where engagement happens. So you're not just teaching the information, you're prompting learners to think, apply, and reflect. And you don't want to just do lecturing. So I really spend a lot of time here as well. So that's my, I guess, type of preparation, you can call it. So where I generate different types of activities, and then I see where I can apply them and before I even create the entire storyboard. Next one is assemble and record multimedia content. So multimedia content is powerful, but scripting everything takes a lot of time, and AI can definitely help with that. It can turn your outlines into learner-friendly conversational scripts for videos and voiceovers. So what I like to do here is I like to use my AI to create scripts for me, and I always make sure that I ask for conversational scripts so that they sound natural. And then I take the scripts and I input them into 11 Labs for AI voiceovers, or if I want to create a video for HeyGen for AI video creation. And the prompt that I typically use is, imagine you're an instructional designer, write a friendly 3-minute script explaining SMART goals using real life analogies. And again, of course, you can use that first part, but you would replace it with your target audience, who you're writing for, and your topic. And then as I ask AI to create a script for me, I always make sure that I focus on tone and intent. So I don't want it to sound like AI wrote it. I want it to sound more human. So I always take that output and I ask for another version so that I can compare them. And I keep training and retraining AI on my personal style, on my tone, and then I always explain what kind of intent I'm looking for, and then ask AI to help me execute the result. And this allows me to produce more multimedia content without the traditional time investment. So I don't really have to sit there and write a script for all the dialogues, for all the characters, for all the scenarios, and the entire course, basically, because AI can do this for me. But again, I look at it from the instructional design perspective so that I can analyze it and make the changes that sound more human and that really help me generate better learning. Okay. T stands for tailored visual design. So you don't need to be a professional graphic designer to create effective templates and visuals anymore. So AI tools can produce clean branded slides, handouts, and concepts that can support learning. I will show you some examples later, but just wanted to let you know that I generated this PowerPoint presentation with an AI tool. So AI can really do a lot here. And previously, I used to hire instructional graphic designers because I usually like to handle the content type of thing. Just I did the content part, and then I hired a graphic designer just to make things go a little bit faster. I would hire a graphic designer to create slides, and then I would hire a person who would do videos for me. And so I had multiple people on my team, and we would all work together. So that was before I started using AI. But as of right now, I use multiple different AI tools to create and generate slides for me. I use Canva Magic Write, especially if I want templates and layouts that I can reuse and repurpose. I save them as reusable learning objects so I can reuse them later for other courses. I use DALL-E for concept visuals. I use Gamma AI. It's an AI to create a powered presentations, and I use Midjourney for imagery, and I use several other PowerPoint tools to build my PowerPoints. And I will show you one just a little bit there, as promised. So visual, but as I create my PowerPoint presentations, so AI can generate a beautiful presentation for you, but remember again, AI is not an instructional designer. So here it's important to really understand your role and make sure that visuals support learning. They don't distract from it. So you only want to add visuals when they actually help the learning process. So if it's something that makes sense there, then add it. If it doesn't, then don't add it. And then also another thing that I do when I create my PowerPoint presentations with AI, I just go through them and I just decide, I don't take it as is, as you will see in the example that I'll show you. I just cut the text that's not needed, that I just make it, if I think that it added something that's not necessary, I also clean it up a little bit. But again, it's still faster and doesn't cost as much as hiring a professional graphic designer. Next one is integrating assessments. So AI can help you move beyond basic quizzes into evaluation. So you want to use knowledge checks, rubrics, you want to create different performance tasks to assess a real application of learning. So I like to, when I create courses, I always like to include knowledge checks. I like to create like short quizzes, like test your knowledge type of thing to verify understanding of certain concepts. So I use AI like ChatGPT for that a lot. And at that point, because I already have all the outlines and scripts, I upload that and I just say generate 10 questions for that specific section of the content. And after it generates it, I look at it again, make sure that it follows Bloom's taxonomy, that it doesn't just test for facts, that I really want to make sure that they're testing for deeper understanding, that they're testing for an analysis, that they get learners that analyze, so make some inferences, some analysis from it. So, and then I do a lot of performance tasks so that to make it more hands-on. So I use real-world application scenarios. So a lot of my quizzes and tests, they don't look like just multiple choice questions, but they're more like multiple choice scenarios where, or sometimes even I play a short video clip and then I have them answer questions. So I do a lot of that, but making sure that it really shows real world application. So I do a lot of scenario-based testing. And sometimes when I work with colleges and universities, especially, they have to create structured evaluation for complex tasks. So we do a lot of rubrics. And then also structured templates for collaborative assessments, for peer feedback. So AI can do that as well. So I use that to generate different types of templates for me so that I can use them later too. So again, the goal is to assess real application of learning, not just recall. So AI speeds up the drafting process, but you still need to make sure that your assessments align with instructional goals, performance criteria. So you still need to go back and ensure that it does all that. And I do find sometimes that even though I uploaded my objectives and I did ask it to make sure that it followed the objectives when it created assessments, it still makes mistakes. So as an instructional designer, you really need to go back and review that for accuracy. And one of the prompts that I use is, again, you're a professional instructional designer, create a 4-level rubric for persuasive presentation in a public speaking course. So I actually used that prompt when I was working on one of the college university courses recently, and it gave me a really nice rubric. Again, as I mentioned before, I never settle for the first output. I asked different AIs to generate different rubrics for me, and then I selected the best one using my instructional design knowledge. Next one is verifying implementation. So before you launch your course, it's important to test it. We all know that. So we want to make sure that all the modules load, quizzes work, links are functional. So AI can actually help you generate comprehensive QA checklists to ensure everything works as intended. So I personally like to have 4 different checklists for myself. So I like to have a technical checklist where I verify that all modules load correctly, links work, media plays properly. Then I like to have assessment validation, where I ensure that all quizzes and assessments function correctly and provide appropriate feedback. And then I like to have a content review type of checklist that allows me to check for typos, clarity, consistency across all materials. And then pilot testing. This is where I have a small group test the course and provide usability feedback. So I create a checklist for the group, and they can again take a look at it and provide their feedback. So one of the prompts that I used before is, imagine you're a professional instructional designer who just created an online course on leadership skills. List the steps to test and verify the course before launch. Okay. And evaluating and evolving. So after we launch the course, you need to continue to revise it and iterate. So when I work with private clients, who are not, so in corporate setting, often you just don't have a choice. You basically create your evaluations and that's it. But when you work with private clients, when I create courses for my private clients, I have to make sure that the course is constantly being reviewed and that they're changing things as needed. So it's important to understand that courses aren't static. So they should evolve based on what's working and where learners are struggling. So AI can help me analyze feedback and identify areas where improvements are needed. So I like to do analytics review. So I identify completion rates, engagement patterns, and then also feedback analysis. So where I process open-ended responses for improvement. So for example, one of the recent courses I worked on for one of the universities, they got a lot of feedback from, they had an online course and they got a lot of feedback from their students, and they wanted to organize all this feedback and make improvements to their course based on that feedback. So we uploaded all the information into AI and we basically consolidated everything and summarized, and it gave us the results, and then we acted upon the results. And so when you have a lot of, let's say, open-ended questions in your survey, you can upload the responses into ChatGPT and it can analyze and summarize everything for you. And then it makes you don't really have to go through anything because you now have the information to work with, so you can make continuous improvements. So now I'm going to show you a very short demo. It's about a minute long. It's a real use case. Basically, well, I started with content planning here. So I looked at learning objectives, my target audience. I used ChatGPT to create conversational script. And then I used a generated natural sounding narration with 11 labs. And I combined visuals and audio into final video. And for that, I used HeyGen. So just a second, I will show you the video. Imagine. Oh, sorry. Can you see my screen?
Imagine building professional boards for marketing campaigns.
Yes. Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay.
Fraction of the time, without losing quality or the human touch. I'm Marina Arshavsky, and I specialize in AI-powered course creation and marketing strategies. With 20 years in education and 8+ years in digital marketing, I know what it takes to create content that teaches, sells, and scales. I've helped course creators, corporations, universities, and brands turn ideas into market-ready products using ChatGPT for content, Canva and Leonardo for visuals, and 11 Labs for studio quality voiceovers. My work is about more than technology. It's about creating experiences that learners remember, clients trust. This video is an example of what's possible with AI. If you're ready to build a course, craft a marketing strategy, or see how AI can revolutionize your content, let's connect and bring your ideas to life faster and better.
Okay. So that video was created with 11 Labs and HeyGen. And as I mentioned before, I use ChatGPT for scripting. Okay, so in just a second, I will show you another tool, Manos AI, that I use to create slides. But first, I just wanted to bring everything together and basically just recap the framework. So again, the creative framework stands for creating learning outcomes, researching and outlining the course, enhancing with interactive materials, assembling and producing media, tailoring visual design, integrating assessments, verifying implementation, and evaluating and evolving. So again, this isn't just about using AI to work faster. It's about creating courses that actually work for learners. And as I mentioned before, it's super important to use your instructional design expertise in addition to AI. So AI is just a tool that helps you make your journey a little bit smoother and faster. So sometimes I get a lot of questions actually about like what tools I use and what tools I specifically like to use. I already talked about many of them before, but here's a breakdown of AI tools that I use regularly in my course creation workflow. So for content development, I use ChatGPT, Claude, and Notion AI. These are the tools that I use the most. I use others as well, but I use them the most. I use Perplexity when I need to do some research as well. It's not mentioned here, but for designing and visuals, I use Canva Magic Studio a lot. I use Gamma and Mammoth. And for AI generated media like avatars, for videos, audio, I use Leonardo, Hedra, HeyGen, Synthesia, and Midjourney. And these are just some of my favorite tools that I like to use. And as I mentioned before, sometimes I like to generate things with several different tools just to see which tool will give me a better outcome. For example, if some courses requires, so I worked with a client and the client just wanted a basic presentation with a PowerPoint presentation. And then they just wanted to do some brief introductions and then conclusions at the end. So they just wanted like a talking head, very short talking head video. And we just used Lemon Slice, which is another tool. And they really liked it. They just want something very simple. And that basically they gave me their photo, their image, and I just input it into Lemon Slice, and it just generated a very short video for me. But I don't generally use that tool for videos. I generally prefer HeyGen, Synthesia, and I also like to use Leonardo a lot. So now I'm going to show you Nanos AI and how I used it to generate slides. So I will share my screen again. Should be able to see a second. So this is Nanos AI. So it can do a lot more than just generate slides, but lately I just found that I just like to use it for slides. So because it takes some time to generate slides, I'm just going to show you some of the slides that I already generated previously and how exactly I did it. So I'll walk you through the steps. So here is my topic. You will see that screen is actually split into two sections, the right and left. So on the left, I have my prompt. So I have the following script and need professional slides created based on, can you analyze the script and create super professional slides, including my logo attached and my hex codes from my website. And then I included my logo and I included the script. So you can include whatever you want. You can put, if you have certain images that you'd like to add, you can do that as well. You can also include if you have an avatar that you want to use, you can even specify if you want something on a specific slide. You can do any of that. So, and then it actually takes the content and it analyzes it. And it can take up to, it depends on the size of your presentation, but it can take up to 30 minutes to analyze everything for it. Sometimes less, but it depends how detailed you want your presentation to be. So it takes the content, analyzes, and then it produces slides based on the analysis. So as you can see on the right-hand side, so these are the slides, and you can preview every single slide. And if you don't like something, you can make it here. You can add something here. You can say, I didn't like second slide. Please fix, and then you tell it what exactly you want fixed, and it will fix it for you, and it will regenerate the slides. Then when you're done, you can go here, and you can download your entire presentation as PowerPoint, as a PDF, or you can convert it to Google Slides, or you can save it to Google Drive as well. And I could show you what this presentation looks like. So this is the final presentation that it came up with. So it incorporated images. And as you can see, that you may not necessarily like the size of certain things, so you can always go back and you can resize things there. You see how here you want to move things up a little bit, so you can definitely do that. So it's just like a regular PowerPoint, but the slides have already been generated for you, so it's much easier to work with that. And they're clean, so they look clean. So that's Manos AI. So let me go back to my presentation. Okay, so this is it. I'm ready for questions, but if you want to take this further, I've created several resources to help you implement my framework in your own course development. So I have a free guide, 15 AI prompts to create powerful course content, and you can download it from my website. I also have a course creator toolkit with AI prompts, templates, and 120 plus pages of ebook on creating transformational online courses, which covers basically everything from start to finish, what instructional designers need to know to create professional courses. You can also find that on my website. And I'm also in the process of creating an AI-powered course builder program where I will walk you through how I personally build courses using AI tools and my instructional design knowledge. So you can join the wait list for early access and bonuses. And you can also find the link on my website. And of course, I'd be happy to connect on LinkedIn to continue the conversation. So here is the link. You can definitely send me a request. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out and I'd be happy to answer your questions. You can also email me if you'd like with questions. I'd be happy to continue the chat with you as well. And now it's your turn. So what questions do you have about using AI in your course creation process, or maybe about anything that I shared before? I'd be happy to elaborate.
So, Marina, actually, there's quite a few questions for you in the Q&A. If you want, you can answer one or two, and then I suggest we proceed directly with the roundtable so that all the speakers can be together and answer a few questions. So if you want, you can pick one or two from the Q&A if you can see that, and then we can move to the roundtable.
Let me see. I see chat.
I can read a few for you if you want me to, because there's like 14. There's quite a few.
I'm trying to, yeah, I see them.
Okay, if you want me to, I can read them as well. It's up to you.
Do you disclose to your clients that you use AI tools and they're okay with you? Yeah, to answer this question, some of my clients, they actually approach me because they actually want that AI process. They want me to use AI tools because they want it done faster. Also, I wrote the book about e-learning and shoestring, and it actually covers a lot of the AI tools. And the reason the publisher wanted me to write this book is because there are a lot of clients out there who are actually looking for instructional designers who would be working with AI tools to create content and to create courses. So and that's part of it. But if the client just approaches me about the instructional design process, then when we have our first initial conversation during the consultation, I do tell them that I do use AI to generate objectives, and I do use AI to generate outlines and then some activities. But I never, another thing that I wanted to mention during the presentation, and I didn't, is that when I use the tools, I never actually mention any content that might be that I shouldn't, or that the client does not want me to mention. So what I do instead is I cover it up with something else. So I change words around. I never mention the name of the company, so I never actually disclose that to AI. But the clients usually they do know, and they know me as an instructional designer who works with AI tools to speed things up. I hope that helped.
Mm-hmm.
To get the tool to build interactive materials, what content would you need to, would you need to give to the tool to complete the task? Would it be the course content? Okay. Yes. So usually, as I said, I usually create a project folder for each of my clients, and then I upload all the final objectives, final content, outlines, everything that I have. And at that point, the AI tool has all the content that's needed. So usually to generate interactive things, you do not need anything more than your scripts, your storyboards, if you have those, or even just scripts sometimes. That would be enough. So storyboard is usually created afterwards. And sometimes what I do, in many cases, I use AI to prototype things, and that's another, I guess, response to your previous question. So sometimes when I work with clients, I tell them that I will use AI to prototype their project, and then they would decide if you would want to continue with that or not. So yeah, to answer this question, you just need your objectives, your course materials, if you have those, and your outlines, and that should be enough to generate different interactive materials.
Yeah. Okay, Marina, if that's okay with you, I do suggest that we move on to the roundtable, just so that we can answer more questions. And I guess we can touch on some of the most frequently asked questions during all of the sessions. So if you could just... Yeah, thank you. So guys, we are going to skip the break only so that we can go right ahead with the questions. So I'd like to welcome back George, Panayota, and Theodosi. If you guys are still over here with us, feel free to turn on your microphone, your cameras, and welcome back to the conversation. All right, I see we're all here. Okay, so during the sessions, all of you had great sessions. There were a few questions that were asked quite a few times. So we have 4 different fundamental questions. I've noted them down because there were quite a few. So I'm going to ask the questions, and any of you guys can comment whatever your thoughts are. So let me start. So I guess, again, these questions were asked from multiple people. So let me address this towards George first, but obviously all of you can comment right after. So George, I guess there were quite a few questions regarding the future of instructional design and AI displacement in general. So here's the question. Why do you think AI can't do instructional design on its own? And essentially, what evidence supports the idea that human input is still invaluable, and especially since AI is mostly free right now? So obviously the question towards George, but right after all of you can comment.
Before answering this question, I have to say that this was a great session. Marina and Theo, your presentations were amazing, and we learned a lot also from the things that you presented. It showcased that you have experience, that you are doing real stuff, so that always is so visible. Marina, I'm not sure if you can stop sharing your screen. That would be great. So I will answer at least my point of view here. You know, the question sometimes is whether we will need instructional design or even courses, or at the end a student will interact with a modality that can create just in time the content in the context with the goals and everything right there. So before an hour, ChatGPT 5 was released, and we just learn that it is thinking before answering. So the question is very valid. How do we feel about having not a pre-structured learning material, but a dynamic one, and having learners interacting with this stuff? So as a learner, I'm coming into a system which can create all of that stuff, PowerPoints, on time, in real time, and so on. This is a question that really tortures us several times, and we discussed that the last 3 years, every almost day about that. And we have also gone into history of educational technology, because AI is just one big breakthrough in technology in education, and we have several examples in the past. We shouldn't forget that always, no matter, sorry for that. Sorry, give me a moment, please.
Yeah, of course.
Always, when we are creating an e-learning material, an e-learning environment, it's still a behavioral interface. Learning happens inside students, inside learners, and not because AI will show something different or whatever. Just for you to just an example, when in the beginning of the 20th century cinema was discovered, all newspapers said, okay, that's the end of the schools. Everything will become a movie and everything will be a lot faster. What I'm trying to say here is that it is a lot more complex to learn. First of all, learning begins with a confusion, not with clarity. So learners don't know what they want to learn. So we always need someone to care about the learner, also to care about other aspects of learning, like ethical dimensions and so on. The second thing is that in general, when you are putting the learner to control his learning, that means that you ask for metacognitive skills, and you ask him to follow and monitor his learning progress so as to react and redirect the AI in the places that he wants. That's very difficult. Even when we were standing in the university, that was the biggest challenge that we have so as to finalize something. The third thing that I think we need to understand is it's a different thing to create an introductory material. It's a different thing to go into complex issues. AI might go beyond our expectation in the introductory material, but it can't do that in very complex material, because there are so many more variables there that really need a human aspect. And last but not least, let's not forget that we need a kind of external validation in our current society. So who is going to assure the learner about what he learned? AI? How can that be done? So just to answer this and give the stage to someone else, just to answer this aspect of this question, we don't feel that AI will ever replace the instructor, will ever replace the commodity of a course, or let's say a training journey or a learning journey, because we also are working on concept of extending the course concept. However, we always need the human factor there to round everything, to connect everything, to validate everything, to take care of the ethical dimensions of everything, to be sure about the contents and so on. So my view on that is probably negative. No, we are not going to go there. Not sure, Theodosi, what's your opinion on that?
I kind of agree. I want everybody to consider Canva. When Canva was first released, graphic designers thought it was a doomsday. Yet, graphic designers are still around. And Canva replaced those graphic designers that weren't good in the first place. The rest elevated their game so they remained relevant. And by the way, none of us knows what the future holds. AI is changing all white collar jobs, all white-collar professions, so it will definitely change. It actually is already changing how traditional learning design happens. Obviously, yeah, we are shifting from manually creating, every piece of content to become, if you like, learning architects, and we are forced somehow to become better. If we would like to stay relevant, we need to be better. And how to become better? We need to utilize all those tools that are available for us and create better training experiences. So if we utilize those tools, those AI tools that are around, and I'm pretty confident that there is nothing to fear. The learning designers that are going to be replaced are those that weren't good in the first place. That's at least how I see things. I'll keep using AI, as we all should do, and I'll adapt based on every or most of new tools that appear on the market. So, in order to maintain my relevance, in order to be a competent learning designer who actually designs meaningful learning solutions. And as I said earlier, and I'm going to finish with that, as I said earlier, at least now in 2025, the AI agents that I love a lot can't produce the content that a solid learning designer can produce. That's my point of view.
Mm-hmm. I guess the common denominator here is that perhaps AI will not replace you, but maybe someone who is using AI will. So someone that still has the human touch, but also the knowledge, the tech knowledge and the AI knowledge. So I guess perhaps that could be also an outcome over there. All right, let me know if you guys want to comment anything else, either on Theo or George, like Panayota or Marina. Otherwise, I could move on to the next question.
It'd be nice to hear also Marina's view on that, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I agree with everyone. I personally don't think that AI will replace instructional designers, because in my presentation, as I already mentioned several times, I believe that instructional designers need to look at whatever AI produces from the instructional design perspective. And I don't necessarily look at instructional at AI outputs as an instructional designer. I look at it from the perspective as my assistant. So AI is my assistant who and it helps me generate content faster, and it helps me maybe hire less people, hire less help. So definitely, I think that less help will be needed as AI. As we use AI, and I think we should be using AI in certain cases, especially where it's really good at, like generating content, generating videos, but we do need instructional designers. We need that eye to really look at it from the instructional design perspective, from the learning designer perspective. So we need to really, and there's some modern instructional design theories that we really need to pay attention to as we design courses. And we really need to, I guess, double check whatever AI produces. So I wouldn't say again that AI would replace instructional designers, but definitely maybe less people will be needed.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Panayota, any comment on this question?
I think
What are your
all
thoughts?
of the speakers have covered my thoughts. For me, like the most essential thing is that, okay, we see all of these tools, like the LLMs, they have this study mode or study and learn mode. ChatGPT also released such a feature. But then again, we see that in certain ways, these features feel a bit shallow. Like I get some questions, okay, that might guide my way of learning, but if I don't know exactly where I'm heading at, or what's the concept I want to learn, or I don't know, I mean, this whole direction that the instructor would give to a course, and as George said, that they would take care of the learner, they would consider the learner in the process, I think that this is invaluable and it will never, be handed over to a tool. It's something that will stay human forever.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a great, sorry for jumping in, that's a great point, Panagiotta. And now you got me thinking with what you said, maybe, and this is great insight, so I might use it on my social media, Panagiotta. Excuse me for that.
Please tag me.
we may shift from self-paced training experiences to more instructor-led ones, because the, let's say, teacher, course creator, whatever you name it, would guide the learners in ways that the AI can't support people, at least for the time being. But it's a great point. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for the answers on this. Let me jump on to our next question. And I think these questions were mostly asked during Theodos's session. So here it is. Again, I've noted it down to remember. So for everyone, of course, not just Theo. So as we move forward, the vision of autonomous learning championed by leaders like Josh Bersin, AI agents are beginning to assess learning needs in real time and curate personalized learning experiences dynamically. So I guess the question here is, are you observing a meaningful shift where AI-guided learning is starting to outperform or even replace traditional models of learning transfer?
I think I pretty much answered this question before. I believe that we're definitely gonna see a shift of how things play out. George mentioned the emergence of cinema, and people thought that schools will end because of this, but this didn't happen. Schools evolved, teachers evolved essentially, and our profession as learning designers will have to evolve if we would like to be relevant and create things that the AI cannot create essentially. This might be something like, being more, having more trainings that are instructor-led, for example, as we discussed with Panagiotta.
Right, yeah, I agree. So, Marina, what do you think? Do you think that AI-guided learning will outperform like the traditional methods?
No, I don't think it will. I think, again, as I mentioned before, it will help us, but it will not outperform. So I think we'll still need instructional designers. And I know that there are certain companies that actually use AI to do interviews and they act like a real human. And I know that there are colleges that try to kind of copy that concept, and they really want to create courses where there is no teacher, but there is an AI I guess AI agent or person or teacher who can do that, but I don't think that AI can fully replicate that experience.
Yeah. George, any thoughts?
If I may add something here, I totally agree with the things that Theo and Marina said. I feel that we are shifting from AI learning to directed AI learning, and I think this phrase is fundamental. Because at the very end, it might be the case that the instructional designers are just directors of how AI will unfold the play for the learners. We still need the directors. The directors are still the instructional designers. So yes, agents might personalize, might read in real time, but they still need a direction there. So I think that's where probably learning is going right now.
Mm-hmm. Panagiotta, any comment?
Well, I'm just thinking that learning, at least from the learner's perspective, always will require effort and time and, investment. So no matter what the tools will help us do and maybe, create more efficient contents, or I think that at the very end, what they will achieve is to, help, or maybe with this direction that George mentions, will scaffold in a way the effort that the learner will require to invest in this, process of learning. So at the very end, of course, the whole idea of learning will change, but this very fundamental thing will not. At the very end, always humans and learners will need to invest time to learn, and AI cannot educate them directly or put everything in their head. They need to do the heavy lifting at the very end. So one part can be fast forward or made more efficient with the help of AI, but the other part, I think that eventually won't change, in a sense that, okay, this very brick will stay the same at the end.
Yeah, and I share your thoughts too. I feel like the human touch will always be a necessity in learning. All right, let me move on to the next one and to the next question. So I think this was asked during Marina's session, and it's around the ethics of using AI. So as educational specialists, technologists, what are some personal or professional ethical standards that you have now established, and how do you apply them when you practice and when you use AI? So any ethical thoughts, any ethical standards that you have now, have in your mind while using AI? I guess, Marina, we could start with you.
Sure. So I'm definitely trying to be as transparent as possible. So I try to let learners and my clients know that AI was part of the process. But again, I always mention that as an instructional designer, I always guide that process. So I'm part of it. And it's not like they're giving me their content and I'm just inputting it into AI, and that's whatever output we receive, that's what it is. Now, I always mention and explain how exactly I use AI, and I'm being transparent, fully transparent about that. And then also I protect privacy. So I never put sensitive information like student data or company data into public AI tools. So I always replace it with an X or another name or something like that. And I also mentioned that during our initial conversation when we do our initial I guess discussion before we actually sign the contract. And again, I already mentioned that, but I always check the content that AI produces for accuracy. So I make sure that AI generated content that is accurate. So I do fact checking and I look at it like bias free. So I really, if I need additional information, if I still have questions that I need to ask, I reach out to my subject matter expert and we discuss that. And I don't necessarily always rely on AI. Or sometimes if I get certain content that I'm not really sure about, I just verify it with my subject matter experts and I make sure that I just tell them openly that this is what AI gave me. Is this accurate? And so these are pretty much the things that I do. So I think that AI can make learning very accessible and inclusive, but and it can help us design materials faster. But at the same time, I think it's important to be transparent and to let your clients know that you're using AI. And as I said before, a lot of my clients, they actually come to me because they want me to use AI, so they already know.
Yeah. Thank you, Marina, for the comment. Theo, would you like to add anything? Do you have any specific ethical practices?
Actually, Marina covered all that's important. Transparency is key here. I was reading a comment here that AI is fed occasionally with wrong information and stuff, and it can provide false answers, etc. I would like to let people know that there is a thing called machine learning, which essentially allows the AI to collect all this information that it's being fed, analyze them, and find patterns. So even if somebody, let's say they use Reddit, ChatGPT, I think ChatGPT established a partnership with Reddit to use users' posts within Reddit for training its models. So if the AI, the machine learning, if this machine essentially identifies that a potential a post actually might be potentially harassing or the information provided is inaccurate, it essentially, ignores this particular post and moves on with the rest that follow specific patterns. This has its drawbacks as well, obviously. It's a good thing if you see just the surface of it, but it has some drawbacks as well. But in any case, AI, those LLMs, the AI LLMs, have some mechanism to protect themselves from being fed with the wrong data. That I wanted to highlight.
Yeah, that was a great highlight. Panayota, how about you? While you're using AI, do you have any ethical concerns, anything like that in mind?
I think the biggest issue here is being transparent, as also Marina and Theodos mentioned. And with George, we had big discussions recently when we were, working on some AI features within Learn Worlds. And we opened up this discussion on how can the features be transparent so that, maybe an author like a course creator, won't actually to let their learners know that they are interacting with the AI at the particular activity. So yeah, I think this is really essential, and also because data privacy issues are interconnected there. So yeah, I need to know if I'm interacting with an AI because I'm gonna share something that is quite personal for me. And I mean, you've seen recently all these threads in LinkedIn where they urge you about these ChatGPT threads that if you share them, they eventually become public through Google search. So this has become quite an issue with data privacy and how private information have been shared along the web. So yeah.
But if you are to share private information, what a company should do is this. They should set up their own local LMSs. For instance, there are software that allow you to install DeepSeek locally, like Olama, for example. Olama lets you install whatever LLM you like, so you can use it safely within your own corporate environment, and there is no way to have a leak of data.
The same applies with when you have a business account in ChatGPT, where you whatever you're saving there, it's not used for training ChatGPT, but only in the context of the company that you are, as we have in Learnables, and we have created several custom GPTs. If I may add something here, I think we are on the verge of a huge challenge of ethicality and intellectual property rights. And I think we all know that what we are seeing as a result of as an output from ChatGPT is the collective knowledge of the human race. So who owns that? So I think we are a little bit conservative when we, for example, in science, they are saying, guys, we have a control. You shouldn't write your text with AI, for example. And at the very end, because I am a researcher and I have several articles published in journals, I had some original thoughts and I used AI just to round my English one, which are not so good. So what's the problem there? Why is AI who is helping someone to articulate something in a better way, but the original idea is the author's idea, this is a problem. So I feel that a lot of ethicality issues are going to come up. We are going to change our approach also to intellectual property and things like that. And we are going to have some huge movements in the following years in that direction. But I totally agree. I think Marina and Theo said it all. It's about transparency, it's about awareness. As we are building the platform, for example, we do have a question where the AI automatically can continue the conversation in our assessments. So you can start with a question and you can direct that question so as, based on the answer of the user, to have more questions. But we have to say to the user clearly, you are using AI right now. We have to say that these might be used for training AI. So what you said, Marina and Theo, I think these are bulletful points that we have to follow.
Actually, there is this notion, George, that there must be established a specific framework for, colleges, educational institutions in general, even government services that, establish a framework with how AI should be used ethically, what's right and what's wrong, and then have all this, everybody essentially, to comply with this set of rules, with this framework. I don't know if this having a framework, I understand the concerns. I have these concerns myself, but on the other hand, I'm a bit worried. Should we force a specific set of rules of what's allowed and what's not allowed? This reminds me of authoritarian regimes. So we might be extremely careful what we consider, intellectual property, how AI should be used ethically. All those things need to be clarified, like you do in Learn Worlds. But at the same time, we should, in my opinion at least, we should not forbid people from using specific AI tools just because these AI tools might create offending material. It's like having a knife, essentially. You can use your knife to butter your bread, but you can use it to slice somebody. So, yeah, we should keep that in mind as well.
Just to add something, because we need to be sincere. Ethics is being defined with a very simplistic way, like the good thing, the what. But if you think about utilitarian, for example, ethic approach, then it's better not to have IP, so as everyone can take advantage of the collective knowledge. So ethical, it's a quite conservative approach where we know what is good and what is not, while in the end, there is a lot more depth into these discussions. So, great. Elisa, should we go on with the next question?
Yeah. We have another category of questions that we didn't touch on, and that was asked during Panayota's session and George. So it is regarding curriculum and AI in education, in early education specifically. So they asked, should AI be introduced as a subject at the elementary level, or what are some age-appropriate themes that would help kids grasp AI concepts in a simple way? So essentially, should it be incorporated into education for kids? When should someone start getting in touch with AI and learn more? I guess that is the main question here. So Panayota, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Elisa. I think I have been asked like a similar question during my PhD defense last year. Of course, yeah, we need to integrate AI into elementary and even in primary. I mean, in lower levels than elementary school. But of course, what we need to take care here is that we are at least at this level of education, I believe we are not introducing AI as a technical subject matter, but we integrate it like through other concepts that we might teach by using some problem-based approaches or more inquiry level teaching. And the important stuff here is how we pedagogically adapt these concepts. Like, okay, you want to, for example, maybe approach, as Theodosis mentioned, machine learning in elementary level. How do you do it? Okay, you might, use an analogy, like you are teaching maybe your dog how to do XYZ stuff. How does that resemble with how AI learns, or even resemble, how humans learn to how machines learn and stuff like that? And of course, this could be something that we, how we could adapt one concept of relevant for AI at elementary education, but maybe as we grow in 5th or 6th grade, maybe we could also introduce AI as a co-pilot for our students, in a sense that it can help us more with metacognitive awareness, like the difficult part. How can they become aware of how they are learning? So I think not use it to do the work for us as learners, but how they can advance this awareness that we need to have during learning. So I think that this could also be useful for as a way to teach or integrate AI in elementary education.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's something that is completely inevitable for them not to get in touch with at some point. So why not introduce it in the right way during education?
Definitely, and also there are a lot of frameworks you can find about AI literacy in education levels, which I mean even learning designers can be informed about, and even it applies in learning apart from elementary level, like even in adult learning. So I think it's really essential to be informed also on these frameworks.
As Jani shared a story about her 7-year-old daughter, I think I can share my story with a 5-year-old son. And I think several of you have similar stories. AI is a creative canvas. It's stupid not to put people interact with it. The only thing that you want is context and framing, direction again. So you can't just leave someone and interact with AI and ask whatever, but you can create great activities for small children to do a lot of stuff. So I think this is inertia. We are a little bit difficult to understand, and we are a little bit afraid. But I think in 2 or 3 years, what happened with internet? Do you remember internet? And what we were saying about internet, how dangerous it might be, and so on. So I think this is inertia. It will be it will broke in a couple of years.
Marina, Theo, any thoughts on this? AI in education?
Just add something. I don't really have experience with little kids in teaching AI to little kids, but I do have experience with teaching college level students for like 18-year-old, maybe like 19-year-olds. As I was teaching one of the college level courses, what I noticed is that they just basically generate the entire essay using ChatGPT, and then they submit it and they think that they're done. So, I think it's important to actually have a course or teach them how to use AI appropriately, so that there is no plagiarism, so that they know that they can use it to brainstorm, to summarize, maybe to test ideas, but there is no dependency, and that they're not really using it to just simply generate the entire essay without even reading it or knowing what's in it. So I think it's important to teach them how to use it in an ethical way and how to use it responsibly.
Yeah, I agree. Theo, would you like to add anything on the conversation?
The rest pretty much covered everything, but even if we have kids interact with AI at a very young age, imagine how many things they will be taught. They will be taught creativity. They will be taught digital literacy. If we jump into more ethical conversations with them, they will also be into critical thinking, into developing their critical thinking skills. What's AI? What should we do now? Stuff like that. So I believe there is a lot of potential here, as George mentioned, and Panayota and Marina. So I'm a huge advocate of AI, and children need to be taught from a young age how to use specific tools. We should not leave the door open for everybody to get in, but on the other hand, we should not lock our door. We should take care what applications they use. We should actually put a lot of emphasis on using applications that are, kids friendly, appropriate for their age, and they are actually, helping them become better. That's the key here.
Yeah, so essentially just guiding them into using a very, very sharp tool.
If I may add,
a
small thing here, based on what Theodosius mentioned, there are already AI is integrated in our lives, and even children use tools from the smallest thing I can think of, they, surface various videos in YouTube. So even there, they can see and they can interact with features that they are AI based. So that could be a great, trigger to start, the discussion or and engage them directly with the technology. Yeah.
All right, I think we are good to wrap up today's summit. So thank you, everyone, and to the speakers. Amazing session from all of you, and I can tell from the feedback in the chat as well. Thank you to everyone who stayed up until almost 3 hours. Right?
May I say something?
Yeah.
I think it's the very first time that we're seeing such kind of keeping into a 3.5 hours meeting. We haven't seen anything like that in the past. So thanks a lot, Marina and Theo, for your insightful presentation and the collaboration and discussion. We hope that everyone learned something today, and that's how Learnwalls is thinking, always sharing, also making people better. And we are going to do many more things in the near future, so stay connected, and a lot of more stuff will come from Learnwalls. So thanks a lot, everyone.
So thank you, Marina, Theo, Theodosi, and Panagiotta. And guys, just before you leave, a little reminder that this session was brought to you by the Learnwalls platform, an all-in-one LMS platform with an integrated AI assistant. We currently have an offer for your trial, so keep that in mind. And also, if you like this session, we also have our annual WALL Summit, so the Worlds of Learning, where we discuss everything around digital learning, and that is going to be next month. So if you feel like that's something you're interested in, keep an eye out on your inbox. All right, so that's all for me as well. So thank you to everyone for staying up until now, and to our speakers as well.
Thank you also, Lisa.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.